Hello and welcome to my English reading of the full first chapter of Digimon Seekers. Before I dive into the reading, I'll just go over how I plan to be covering this web novel. So, if you are listening to this and you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about the currently running web novel Digimon Seekers, which is uploaded weekly on Digimon.net. So first of all, I held several polls over on Twitter as to how to cover the series, and hopefully what was settled on works well for everyone. And that is to do a full audio reading of each chapter of Seekers, rather than the readings of each of the weekly segments. So 1-1, 1-2, etc. This will be the complete reading and recording of the first chapter. This will be in podcast form, so just audio, and it'll be uploaded to podcast platforms as well as YouTube. So this is more or less the same as I've previously released podcasts. There'll be no change to that. The only change is that the podcast itself will have minimal discussion and opinions, and will just be the one host. So that's me. I'm going to be the only one reading, so if you don't like my voice, I'm deeply, deeply sorry. If you're wondering why I talk like this, and I have been asked why I talk like this, I am, tragically, Australian. So, I'm sorry. If you don't like the Australian accent, this podcast probably is not for you. So the podcast will be, as I said, audio, and then I'll be releasing a shorter review of the entire chapter with my thoughts. And the video review will be more or less similar to how I've covered each episode of Ghost Game, so with a short 10-ish minute review video with some editing and some pretty images from the series. However, do consider this podcast episode a sort of test of interest. It is one thing to click a button on a poll that takes like 3 seconds, but another thing entirely to actually sit down or drive or commute or whatever and listen to something. So if the views show a lack of interest, I'll not bother covering further chapters. So like, comment, subscribe, etc, etc. I'm also planning on recording this whole thing in segments myself, rather than the full 18 segments all at once. And the reason behind this is that this is just because I don't want my voice to die and crack out, because I'll just be talking the entire time. Usually in podcast I'm joined by 1 or 2 other people, so my voice gets time to rest, and I wouldn't want to go all croaky halfway through. Though it shouldn't be too noticeable, I'll be editing it in segments anyway, and having the Digivice sound effect as like a segment break, as I usually do with podcasts. So it shouldn't be too bad, but I just thought I'd mention that if you notice any weirdness in the in between segments that were released for Seekers. So I am recording this just after Chapter 1 wrapped up, because I wasn't sure when it would wrap up or how many segments there would be. For Chapter 2, I'll probably record them as they come out and then edit it together once it's done, just because it means that I'll be able to get it out sooner rather than this way, which is just me wondering how many recordings I can get in it per day. But in any case, the next order of business is that the official English translation isn't perfect, so I'm going to be reading Onkei's corrected version. However, if you are listening to this and don't plan on reading the official release, or you are reading Onkei's version only, as well as listening to this, I still ask you that you go to the direct release each week and click on the segment, even if you don't read it there. And the reason being is so that Bandai still gets the views, and same goes for watching the trailer at the start of each chapter. We don't want Bandai to think that there's a lack of interest in Digimon, so make sure you do head over to Digimon.net and check out all the pretty pictures in the official release. Now, with all that over and done with, let's start Digimon Seekers Chapter 1, AG, Wolf of 9th Avenue. A wireframe T-Rex is running. The Tyrannosaurus Rex, a carnivorous reptile that reigned on Earth during the Cretaceous period about 67 million years ago. The largest ever to be recorded was 13 meters long and weighed 9 tons. a dinosaur. But what was running here was slightly different in terms of a creature from what paleontologists had theorized based on fossil findings. This creature is much smaller than a T-Rex, and yet its 4 legs are remarkably developed, and its 3 claws are sharp enough to tear apart its prey's flesh. Tyrannomon. Adult level. Dinosaur type. Data species. Its wireframe 3D body is covered with skin textures, mapped to bring about additional texture. The pseudo-red T-Rex creatures run. They were herding their prey together. One chased, another stalked, while the last one laid in wait. It was a highly intelligent, coordinated group hunt. Gradually, their prey would be trapped, drawn deeper and deeper into the tunnel. When the claws of the approaching Tyrannomon were finally about to capture its prey, pow! Roar! I'm sorry, it's going to be a lot of that. My apologies in advance. I'm not good at sound effects. I'd be a terrible parent. With an ear-splitting roar, as you just heard, a huge square object passed by them at breakneck speed. It was a subway train. A wireframe train. The Tyrannomon, forced to pull back to dodge the hurtling subway, could only see vermilion, the colour of its tracks marking the route. The train's destination display showed a mysterious string of characters in a language that looked both familiar and unknown. They were not in a jungle of ancient times, but a concrete underground constructed with line drawings. The 3 Tyrannomon resumed chasing after their escaping prey. They turned off at a branch in the tunnel and went deeper underground. Splash! The sound of feet slapping through the water. This road led to a vast sewer system. It was so dark and nothing could be seen. Not even the tips of outstretched fingers. But the Tyrannomon were aware of their surroundings. The stench of filth from stagnant winds, the footsteps of prey fleeing through the channel. They could sense the very air around them. Grrrr! I'm sorry. The Tyrannomon lying in wait screamed. A tornado suddenly formed out of nowhere, and the column of water sent the Tyrannomon flying. Thrown off balance, the Tyrannomon fell on its back in the waterway, its belly exposed. Whoosha! No idea what that sound's meant to be, by the way. I guess it's a shockwave. The shockwave that followed came from close range, delivering an unexpected but powerful finishing blow. The Tyrannomon was silenced by its prey's retaliation. The static around the wound on its red skin spread. A pop-up billboard with a 3D advertisement. I can't talk. Sorry, this is a terrible idea for me to not be able to talk and do a podcast. Advertisement. There we go, nailed it. The store's mascot. A kabuki-like character with its face covered in heavy kumadori makeup. It was jumping out into the street. Advertising, nailed it that time, a new burger with 4 times more meat than any other burger on the market. Wonder if there are any good part-time jobs out there. Eiji Nagasumi took up a spot at the 2nd floor counter of the fast food restaurant, lingering there with a soft drink that he got with a coupon. With smartphone in hand, he skimmed through the topics of the social networking site Grim. Grim is a pan-global communication tool. In addition to basic short message, voice chat, video and live streaming functionality, it also maintained various communities based on group channels. Grim probably had the highest number of users among all social networking sites. Its most distinctive feature was that it formed a single economic zone by serving as a financial tool with all its own cryptocurrency, DC, Digicoin. However, it was also half illegal. Tools cost a hell of a lot of money, and I'm gonna have to learn how to actually code on my own rather than outsource. Shit. Chip prices are rising again. Guess my business is about to go into red ocean. Eiji muttered something along those lines to himself. Grim is a must for freelancers like Eiji, looking to make money, as it serves as a venue for information gathering, private sales, and crowdsourcing. Grimm is essentially a republic in the network that is based on an entirely new set of values. Without exaggeration, so to speak, the scale of its economy is such that it now threatens nations with major powers in the real world. A breeder is a bit too much for me to handle. I guess capturing for collectors is the quickest and easiest way to make money. But in order to be a full-time hunter, I'd need a sales channel with customers. A black Agumon? 100 million DC for its capture? Heiji looked hungrily at the job request. Agumon is the name of a data-type creature that was traded by code crackers like Eiji, undocumented workers in the network community, who frequented Grimm. Agumon Black must be alive and unharmed. The dinosaur-shaped silhouette was accompanied by details and a note in the job description. 100 million DC is more than 100 million yen, right? That was more money than Eiji could imagine. Probably enough for him to live for 10 years without working. However, as he perused the replies of the original post, he immediately deflated. All of the comments were either filled with abusive words, prankish, or plain begging for money. Grimm was a lawless place. It was the network equivalent of a garbage dump. Ugh, this must be some kind of urban legend or something. There's no way 100 million is real, and besides, it wouldn't be called Agumon if it was black. What the? My Tyrannomon number 3! He raised his voice without thinking. A group of high school students on the same floor glanced at Eiji. Until last year, Eiji had been wearing a high school uniform just like them. Like them, he'd lived a life of mindless ease, chatting about nothing important with no goals in mind. No worries about the future. Fun days with no real sense of purpose. Eiji stopped swiping his phone and used his other hand to touch another gadget on the table. It was handheld size, with a monochrome LCD screen and control buttons. At first glance, it looked like an electronic toy. Also, side fact, this is me talking, not reading. It is the Digimon Accelerator virtual pet. So that's a cool little bit of trivia, I guess. On the screen, back to me reading, was a pixelated character looking like a tiny dinosaur creature, Tyrannomon. Its name was displayed, but this one had fallen to the ground and had X's for eyes. I was so busy looking for a job that I blew all my money away. Stupid, stupid, stupid! Eiji hit his own head repeatedly. The other two Tyrannomon, number 1 and number 2, looked at him from across the tiny black and white screen. They appeared troubled, as though awaiting instructions. Please, you gotta do this, I'll be broke otherwise. Eiji used the gadget to replace the downed Tyrannomon with another one. If you don't capture the target, you get no food. Or rather, if you don't capture it, no food for me for a month. The high school students must have thought he was a weirdo that got too serious about video games. They raised their eyebrows and left their seats to get away from him. But this wasn't a game. This was serious business. Eiji is a code cracker. A hacker is someone who possesses outstanding computer skills, but code crackers are hackers who are willing to engage in illegal and grey area activities. Code crackers are more of a jack of all trades within network communities. Set tool settings to capture. Reassign target to Modoki Betamon. You're about to regret underestimating Cracker Fang, aka Eiji Nakasumi. Execute command and away you go. With a click, he pressed the execute button. The Tyrannomon on the monochrome LCD screen vanished. They had a job to do. All that was left now was for the AI to capture the prey specified by the tool. After downing his drink in the soggy paper cup, Eiji began to browse through Grimm again. Chapter 1, Part 2. Tokyo Denno University was established as a major government program to welcome and support science majors who would become responsible for the future of science, technology, and the nation itself. Although relatively new, it boasted top-class research that was responsible for great strides in the field of computer science. It is located in the Denrin district, which has become the new centre of the multinational city of Tokyo. The university's reputation as a good starting point for jobs with global companies and tech giants made it increasingly popular with prospective students. Adjacent to TDU's Dandenong campus, there is another facility, Aberdeen Electronics Corp, aka AE. AE is the leading company in electronic terminals, network equipment, and fabless semiconductors. The Aberdeen Electronics Dandenong Digital Lab, DDL, was the home base of AE's research and development team. The first floor lobby at DDL was simpler than AG had imagined. All it had was a reception desk and a common-looking waiting bench. The large TV display on the wall didn't show any advertisements. I really am going to pronounce that word a different way. Advertisements. There we go. I don't know why I'm struggling. Anyway, any advertisements about AE. Rather, it showed scenes of prairies, dense forests, polar seas, mountain ranges, rapids, trailing autumn leaves, the underground and caves. Scenes of nature from each of the 4 seasons in an endless video loop. I guess that's because the Digital Lab is a research facility and AE's headquarters is elsewhere. The exterior walls of the lab were gently curved with green, and there was no company logo or sign to indicate what a prestigious place it was. Anyone passing by might think that this building was part of the university next door. AG looked at his reflection in the glass. He was dressed in his usual casual attire. Apparently, casual attire was allowed at the DDL. The people who worked here were supposed to be the elite, the best and the finest minds of the field. It wasn't the place for a freelancer who was fresh out of high school. Regardless, AG walked to the reception desk without hesitation. He was here to work. "Hello." AG calmly greeted the receptionist. "Huh?" She looked at AG with eyes that clearly wondered what this suspicious-looking kid was doing here. Since he wasn't wearing a square backpack, he obviously wasn't here for food delivery. "Oh, I see. There must be college students or passerbys who occasionally enter the lab by mistake." She must have drawn the conclusion that he was one of them. "I have an appointment. Do I type into the tablet?" A research facility is bound to have trade secrets. There were several buff guards stationed at the gate on the other side. If this were the United States, they would be carrying handguns. "Yes, of course." Even her hesitant voice was cute. She had short, voluminous hair tucked in at the collar. While she wore a plain outfit in the style of what was to be expected at a laboratory, she had a small face and a slender neck and shoulders. She was the type who was bound to attract attention just by sitting here. Do I put my real name where it asks for my full name? I tend to use an alias at work. "Excuse me, but are you a writer or in show business?" "Neither." It was not a stage name or a pen name. AG, like most code crackers, used his alias for job functions. "Please use your real name then, if you don't mind." "AG Nagasumi then. Phone number, appointment time, and the reason for meeting. Would that be enough?" AG took a look at her nameplate. "Hatsune-chan?" "Please don't get all casual on me." "Okay then, Hatsune-chi." A muscle twitched at Hatsune's temple. "If you are here on business, then put your company name here, please." "I don't have a company yet." "Okay, but my occupation is..." "Wait, what was that guy's department again?" "Oh, whatever. This is such a pain in the neck." Eiji took out his smartphone. "Tomonori Rusenji, Professor." Tapping on the contact, he sent an "I'm here" and decided to wait in the lobby. There were several other guests there, all of them receiving guest passes from reception. None of them looked like businessmen, but rather like academics who had just stepped across the campus buildings of TDU. Eiji looked at the object in the center of the lobby. 3 spheres floated in the air. Each sphere has a distinctive mark engraved on it. They formed a circle with each other, more or less, rotating as they overlapped each other. They were like 3 globular clusters gravitationally pulling each other in space. Did I see those before? Eiji went to take a closer look and pulled back in astonishment. Hey, is 3-dimensional image a hololyze? Hey, Fang! A voice from the other side of the gate called out his codename. At the same time, the 3 circular objects collapse, disappearing without a trace. Eiji turned around. The man was about 170 centimeters tall, a chiseled face, with a touch of grey and a slight Caucasian look to him. He should have been in his 60s, but his gait and posture made him appear much younger. The majesty of his presence was much more apparent in the reactions of those around him than in the man himself. The eyes of everyone in the lobby trailed after him at his unexpected appearance. "Hello, Mr. Professor." Professor Risenji was one of the co-founders of Aberdeen Electronics, an extremely wealthy man. He still owned more than 20% of AE's shares, which have a market capitalization of more than $100 billion. He was called a professor because he had happened to be a university professor. As the boss of Risenji Laboratory, which is well known in the industry, he was also currently a professor at Tokyo Denno University. He had built this company, which had started up as a university launch venture, into a world-class company that it is now known for within the past 10 to 20 years as one of its top executives. This is my first time meeting Cracker Fang, but it certainly doesn't feel like the first time. In terms of social status, the man was untouchable. Under normal circumstances, Risenji would not be someone with whom Eiji would feel at ease. "Well, we're always talking through voice chat." "Oh, my name is Eiji Nagasumi," Eiji said, introducing himself properly. "Well then, Fang, Eiji-kun, let's get going. Sorry for all the trouble we put you through. Which reminds me, a guest pass for him, please," Risenji said to reception. The suspicious-looking kid had just so casually summoned the de facto boss of Japan's AE that the receptionist, Hatsune, became increasingly nervous and flustered. "Yes, sir, right away." "We're going to D4, so he will need a co-researcher pass." "What?" "The board had just given its approval, just this morning." "Oh, of course, sir. Understood." Hatsune was surprised for the second time as she tapped the terminal to confirm this and issued the pass. As Eiji held up his special pass, he walked through the gate detectors as the guards stood by in rigid salute. Just doing this made Eiji feel a little bit more like an adult. Employees and researchers passing by greeted Risenji as they walked down the corridors. Eiji stood behind him like glue, staring wide-eyed at everything and returning their bows. It felt great. "Professor Risenji, why are you called Professor? Why not President or Vice President or Board Chairman?" "Probably because Professor is what describes me best." He must mean because he had the mind of a researcher. He had already left the management of AE to his former subordinates. Eiji himself wasn't sure how to interact with a corporate manager, but he felt more comfortable talking to someone who acted more like a university professor. "Before we go to my office, I'd like to stop by a place. There is something I want to show you." "What is it? I can't wait to see." "This way." They took the elevator to the next floor, where they were met by another heavily guarded gate. The gate wasn't the same as the one in the lobby, a detection gate that you'd pass through at an airport. This one had a bulkhead. This area up ahead seemed to be completely isolated from the rest of the DDL building, the D4 section. What you're about to see is Aberdeen Electronics' top secret project. The core research that will determine the future of our company is being conducted here, Risenji explained. The core of AE's state-of-the-art research facility, DDL, was in D4. Eiji gave up his phone and personal belongings to the waiting security guard. He was also subjected to a rigorous body check. "What is it?" Risenji, who had passed through the bulkhead gate before him, looked back at Eiji. I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. I assure you, it's an experience, that's all. Do you not like amusement park rides? Huh, you mean the fun kind? Indeed. Not that we're genetically engineering dinosaurs or researching a zombie virus. Now that sounds like fun. Relaxed by Rusenji's joke, Eiji passed through the D4 gate. And inside was... Chapter 1, Part 3. It was a sea of networks within a dome-shaped theatre. Eiji stood in the centre of the room as a schematic diagram constructed with wireframes was projected before him. Floating on the surface of the World Wide Web were the servers of nations, corporations, and research institutes. Their servers sat atop its surface like floating islands or ships in waves. The projection then dove deeper beneath the network to a deep-sea region, where a completely different world unfolded. The digital world. A voice began to play within the dome theatre, taking them through an audio tour. The wireframe schematic was rendered into 3D and took on vivid colours. It is a world different from our world, the real world, the audio said. One could call it cyberspace that exists in the digital network. The other world that stretched out from beyond the network, the digital world. Such scenic beauty. While the picture quality was poor, it had a clear and beautiful wilderness to it, much like the environmental images shown in the entrance lobby. Inhabiting this digital world, the audio continued, are these. The data became three-dimensional. It was HoloLens, a technology that was spearheaded by TDU and put to practice by AE. This technology was what was used in all of the 3D digital signage seen throughout the city. Digital monsters, known as Digimon. Something was HoloLensed. At first glance, it looked like a frog? It was like a tadpole that still had a tail, but on the verge of becoming a frog. It had the colour of a watermelon, green with black stripes. What made it distinctive were its dorsal fin that stuck up like a mohawk, the claw on its limbs, and fangs curled up into a cocky smirk. Betamon, child level, amphibian type, virus species. The pseudo-frog's data was displayed. Digimon are information life forms that live in the digital world, the audio explained. An AI life form. You'd never find something like this in a school textbook. An AI life form? Digimon of different motifs, like fish, amphibian, reptile, mammal, plant, insect, crustacean, mollusk, even machine and chemical phenomena, not to mention other phenomena like the myriads of mythological creatures, gods and demons to exist, hololized one after the other. The discovery of the digital world and the research about its history. The identity of digital monster known as Digimon, the evolution of Digimon baby, child, adult, perfect, ultimate levels, the 3 basic attributes of Digimon classification, etc. These explanations came along with images of the HoloLens Digimon. That's the object I saw in the lobby. A video of the object that Eiji had seen before emitted a tricolour laser, illuminating repeatedly over Eiji as he stood in the centre of the Dome Theatre. It's the motif of the 3 attributes that form the basis of Digimon's taxonomy. Virus, data, and vaccine, Rusenji explained. Digimon are the fruition of mankind's efforts, of our successful contact with the new world. The digital world, in the network, the audio cried. Digimon have revolutionized human society. By using and applying Digimon, AI as tools, it has led to remarkable discoveries in various areas of study such as software, development, cryptography, security, and AI drug development. However, it was still a secret to mankind. A majority of people in the world still don't know that the digital world even exists. Suddenly, the image was disrupted. The Dome Theatre vibrated. And even if they did, they would not understand it anyway. The tone of the dialogue changed at that last line. It sounded like it had been processed through a machine. There is an ethical and non-ethical. Digimon can be misused as tools of cyber terrorism, and these instances are known as Digimon crimes. The video abruptly jumped to a scene in the real world. It was the passenger cabin of an airliner. The plane's wings could be seen outside a window. The roar of its engine's jets were audible as the plane flew above the clouds at night. The video was being taken by one of the passengers filming the cabin with a smartphone. Sleeping next to him, under a blanket, was either the photographer's wife, lover, or daughter. A realistic roar of wind deafened AG, but it was not realistic, my apologies. The world was flooded by static, and then silence. Roar! Without warning, the vision went dark, the angle of the video was disturbed. An alert. Oxygen mask came down in the cabin. Screams. Confusion. AG averted his eyes. He couldn't stand to watch anymore, but there was nothing that he could do. The airliner suddenly nosedived and fell headlong through the clouds at an altitude of more than 30,000 feet. Tomonori Rusenji had always been the leading figure of the world in discovering the digital world and researching digital monsters. He was the very reason for why AE's digital lab was located next to TDU. There was no known precedent of a single researcher making such a significant contribution to the university's reputation and a company's business performance. The remarkable development of both the university and AE were all made possible by Professor Rusenji alone. Magnificent! Rusenji beamed with approval as he inspected the Digimon dock, a gadget that AG used to deliver his goods. They were in the DDL, in Rusenji's office. It was a private room where one part of the wall was made of glass. It looked much like a university laboratory, with shelves crammed full of equipment, reference materials, and cardboard boxes. Rusenji connected the Digimon dock to his lab equipment, and the Digimon that AG captured was hololized. It was a frog-like creature with a tail. It is indeed the Madoki Betamon that I requested. Just look at these gentle curves. Rusenji traced the outline of Madoki Betamon's image with his finger, as if touching something precious. Among all of the data found in the unknown digital world, these AI programs called digital monsters, aka Digimon, sold at a high price on the grim market due to their convenience, scalability, and rarity. It took 3 Tyrannomon to capture that one. AG entered as he set his bag down on the work desk. He'd had his personal belongings returned to him since they were no longer in D4. Wow, sounds tough. Betamon have a habit of throwing their dorsal fins when they feel like they're in danger. However, Madoki Betamon emit a shockwave from their dorsal fin. That was how AG's Tyrannomon, number 3, was killed by the blade fin technique during its capture. Yes, it was, but Professor, I'm not sure how this Madoki Betamon is different from the other Betamon. What do you mean? Rusenji looked offended. Eiji-kun, can't you tell? Do you really not know the difference between Betamon and Madoki Betamon? Eiji was alarmed that he'd disappointed his client. Well, the colour is a little different. That's right. The colour of Madoki Betamon isn't nearly as vivid. I knew you could tell the difference. Eiji-kun, you can expect a bonus to your payment this time. Yes, thanks for your patronage. It seemed that his random guess was correct. Now Eiji could add pickles and raw egg to his beef-laden rice ball for dinner tonight. The client seemed super pleased. Rusenji began to transfer the Madoki Betamon's data to his lab equipment. Eiji-kun, what did you think of your experience earlier? Earlier? You mean the video that I saw in D4? It was awesome! It's a promotional video. Our company once had a plan to expand into entertainment. We were going to call it Digimon Land. Nice. So you were going to sell Digimon as characters to the general public who don't know anything about the digital world, huh? I especially like the idea you guys had. The Digimon are living AI creatures. Fantasy? Fiction? If I was a kid, I'd be hooked. Eiji let his imagination run wild. Digimon are alive. Chapter 1, Part 4. Digimon are alive, Rusenji had said. Well, it would be a lot of fun if Digimon were really alive, Eiji said. There are fanatics out there who would keep Digimon like digital pets. And there are collectors like you. But for codecrackers like me, Digimon are like a useful AI tool. For Eiji, Digimon are valuable work tools. He favoured using Tyrannomon, a relatively common capture in the digital world, which meant that he could often be traded on Grim. So, when are you gonna have this Digimon Land thing? It's been shelved for good. Rusenji let out a sigh of disappointment. Oh dear. Realistically, it was hard to enforce. That's why the digital world remains a secret to mankind. At Rusenji's words, Eiji flashed back to the images of the plane crash that he had just witnessed. Yeah, I guess it would be. Since there are people out there who use Digimon for crime, people in the same business as me. Although they're more of the nasty sort. While code crackers are generally in the grey zone, there are some even among them who weren't completely morally bereft, and some who were. There were some who were grey but close to white, then there were those who were grey but close to black. Some of them weren't so bad once you talked to them, while others were truly crazy, or just flat-out criminals, or the enemy of all mankind. Anyway, network failures, information theft through unauthorized access, and cyber-terrorism had been occurring frequently here and there in recent years, and Digimon used AI tools actually had a lot to do with it. Like what Eiji had seen in that video, there actually was an incident of a terrorist using a Digimon to bring down an airplane. That information, of course, had not been made public. The general public did not know about Digimon or the digital world. World leaders and international organizations were quick to cover up their existence. Besides, it would become too great a scandal if characters in a theme park were used by criminals for acts of cyber-terrorism. Just imagine. If the public found out about the digital world and Digimon, it would lead to revealing to the entire world the existence of Digimon crimes, Rusenji said. What do you think would happen if we did that? Mass chaos? Exactly. The media would probably come up with sensational titles for clickbait, like how Digimon were invaders from another world or something. The easiest and simplest conclusion that would be drawn from such an emotional state would be the digital world and Digimon are evil. A majority of mankind does not yet know about the digital world. Even if they did, they would not understand it. Rusenji's words sounded genius and profound, but they were difficult for Eiji to understand. They would not understand that there lies another world beyond the network that is different from our world, and that Digimon are actually alive. Even if they knew about it, they would not understand it. Professor Rusenji. Eiji felt as though those words be said to him as a code cracker, as someone who used Digimon for his job in the digital world. Digimon are living creatures. Crack-a-fang, Eiji-kun, don't you want to know? About the real world and the digital world? The truth of the two worlds? Don't you want to see what lies on the other side of it? Well, of course I would. Eiji was immediately excited. I mean, I know nothing about it. The digital world to me is nothing but the information on that black and white screen of my digital dock. But the world you're seeing, the world you saw, Professor, it's different, isn't it? Like what I saw in that video. The sea of networks, the real world, and the digital world. A glimpse of the world that lay beyond the static. Do you know why the video in D4 is top secret? Rusenji asked. Why it's kept from the public? Because, Eiji had a flight of insight. It's real? It wasn't a fake promotional video, but an actual video of the digital world? Yes, that video was AI generated by our observational data and composited as an imagery of the true digital world. And the Digimon really do live there, in the digital world. Turns out that the real extraterrestrials came from our digital network, and not from outer space. Rusenji looked into Eiji's eyes. What he spoke of wasn't a metaphor, or an abstract way of looking at things. Digimon are alive. Eiji looked at the hololized Modoki Betamon. It was alive. If that was the case, then the Tyrannomon that he'd been using as an AI tool were also alive? And all the other Digimon too? To see firsthand, Rusenji said gravely, with my own eyes, the natural digital world and the Digimon in their own habitat. To see the digital world directly with all 5 of my human senses, and not through virtual monitors to observational data. To break the constraints between the real world and the digital world. To experience it as it actually is. I'm using my reading voice, not my Rusenji voice. See, this is why I shouldn't do voices. That is what I, Tomonori Rusenji, have devoted my life to researching. Everything I do has been done for the sake of D4. The data transfer of Modoki Betamon was finally complete. Rusenji ejected Eiji's Digimon dock from the device, and picked it up with his fingers to peer at it. Ah, thanks. Eiji extended his hand. Snap! Rusenji tossed the Digimon dock aside. What? Without any time to react in surprise, Eiji slid across the ground and intercepted the Digimon dock before it fell into the trash can. What was that for, Professor? He'd leapt forward so vigorously that he'd face-planted straight into the trash can. Eiji made this dock from used parts. Even though it was mostly junk, it still cost him a lot of money. There was an error in its memory. Seriously? Rusenji is a Digimon collector, so he was more careful than most about the condition of his data. You shouldn't use outdated equipment, especially if you're working a job for me. That almost destroyed Modoki Betamon's data. Still, you didn't have to throw it away. Freelance code crackers aren't exactly swimming in money like big corporations are, Professor. I can't pay for everything out of pocket, or ring up a bill, or use all the high-spec equipment that's here whenever I want. Hello? Eiji was puzzled. Rusenji's response was a little strange, but he was, after all, a genius scientist of the highest caliber in Japan. He could be forgiven for coming across as a bit eccentric. I apologise for that. But, well, that makes for perfect timing. Hold out your arm. Huh? Eiji didn't know how the timing was perfect, but he did as he was told. Rusenji attached something to Eiji's left wrist. Eiji swallowed hard. When had he last felt something like this? When his parents had bought him a new video game console as a kid? When he'd gotten his first smartphone? No, this was 1,000 times greater than that. He felt as if his entire world was expanding just by wearing this thing. It's yours. It was a wristwatch-like gadget. Is this Aberdeen Electronics' state-of-the-art Digimon dock? And a smartwatch type? Eiji felt like jumping up and down and doing cartwheels. AE's products were easy to modify into Digimon docks, and thus were highly regarded among code crackers. And this was a genuine AE product. Because it involved Digimon, it was a trade secret. A Digimon linker. This is the prototype of a product that I've been working on. Professor Rusenji, I already knew this about you, but you are amazing. On Eiji's arm, the wristwatch Digimon dock began to set itself up automatically. Well, I am the technical director of Digimon Dock Division. This device has biometric vital sensor, so it can only be used by you, the person to whom it's registered. Oh, so it's made for me. It has a medical device class sensor that records pulse, blood pressure, respiration, body temperature, and so on. And it comes with a 24-hour medical support system via our life support. I'm gonna get so healthy, Eiji responded enthusiastically. It also has a hololization function. Normally, a Digimon hololization is only allowed at DDL and a few other authorized facilities, but this is a special exception. It was all special. He was given special treatment. But you're giving me this prototype? Are you sure? There must be some kind of catch. Relax. This is simply a gift from me to you. Oh, wow. But here's the thing. Yep, I knew there was a catch. I'm starting to catch on to what kind of person you are, Professor. While he said that jokingly, Eiji had no intention of parting with his smartwatch Digimon dock. He wanted it. The Digimon linker had functions that were, without exaggeration, in a different language. Even in a different league. Even leagues from Eiji's DIY dock. I want to see what Cracker Fang can do with the next job that I have for you. I'll do it. Well, that was fast. Good. That's what I like about you. Rusenji took Eiji's arm and pressed a switch on one side of the Digimon linker. The screen glowed faintly. A mysterious flame seemed to flicker from the clock screen. Lugamon, child level, magical beast type, virus species. A Digimon that he had never seen before sat there on the colour screen. Eiji squinted. A puppy dog? After receiving the new job request from Professor Rusenji, Eiji passed through the gate alone and returned to the reception hall on the first floor. Break the constraints between the real world and digital world, huh? The hololized tricoloured object was back in the centre of the hall. Oh, hello again. Hatsune spoke up at the reception desk. Do I return my pass here? You can put it here, thank you. Eiji gave her back his pass, there we are. Hatsune noticed the device in his arm. Oh, this? Professor Rusenji gave it to me. Do you know what this is? It's a Digimon dock. Eiji showed off the new smartwatch gadget to Hatsune. Hatsune looked around quickly and then whispered back, Isn't that the new secret model? She seemed to be well informed of company rumours. Maybe that was a perk of her position as a receptionist. It's a prototype, though. I'm just doing a test run. Wow, that Professor Rusenji himself asked you to test it out? He must really trust you. Hatsune seemed to be genuinely surprised, rather than buttering him up. I wonder, do you really think so? Absolutely! Despite his appearance, Professor Rusenji is so... Hatsune lowered her voice. He can be a bit difficult to work with. Oh yeah, he is a peculiar one, Eiji said, trying not to laugh. Hatsune's attitude towards him was completely different from when he first saw her, but that wasn't a bad thing. I'll see you later. Oh, Nagasumi-san? You can call me Eiji. Then you can call me Hatsune-chan or Hatsune-chi, whatever you want. So, about your entry form, I noticed that you left out your occupation. If you don't mind me asking, what should I put here? Hatsune looked at him expectantly and fidgeted. My occupation? Eiji thought about it. Being a freelancer wasn't exactly an occupation. It just meant that he had no established job. I'm Eiji Nagasumi, a code cracker. Huh. Hatsune's reaction was the most doubtful thing that he'd seen on her all day. Chapter 1, Part 5. There are two major ways to obtain Digimon in the digital world. One is by using tools in their full capacity to capture a Digimon. The other is by collecting Digimon eggs known as Digi-eggs. Although these Digi-eggs are the shape of eggs, they are different from the eggs of birds or fish. Let's start off with this. The current accepted explanation is that Digimon do not have gender. They are neither male nor female. This leads to the question of, in that case, how are Digimon born? The current theory for this is that they are born from Digi-eggs. When a Digimon dies, it leaves behind a data that could be called a soul. The data remnant is then reborn somewhere in the digital world as a new Digi-egg. It may sound like the circle of reincarnation, but there is much that is unknown about Digimon's way of life. Humanity still understood only mere fragments of the digital world. It was a long, long night. Dusk seemed to go on eternally in the twilight sky, but no. What looked like the sky was actually the net ocean, and what looked like clouds were the waves of the interweb. Yes, it does say interweb. The shooting stars were streams of information. It was like being at the very bottom of the ocean floor. The shimmering pale light illuminating the ground came from the real world, located far above the ocean surface. The world of the network was both brilliant and beautiful. But any world that is inhabited by the living creatures grows to be, without exception, somehow broken and stagnant. Rain the colour of rust iron sputtered down, and the wind smelled of blood. Sewage water, rich with the pungent smell of chemicals, bubbled up as it was swept away by the rain. It was more than just a drainage ditch, it was a blockaded city where mine pollution flowed, the flow leaving a trail of strange fluorescent colours that glowed in places, and unidentifiable garbage data that chipped away at the sea wall as it spewed out in fenced-in estuary. Why was there a flow in the digital world? The flow of time, the flow of matter, and the flow of natural phenomena such as weather. Why is that? Why was there a mountain of garbage that was so obviously remnants brought about by a living society? According to one theory, contact with the real world, and thus human society, through the network, brought about an enormous diversity of data and wide circulation throughout the digital world. If that were true, it would be how the Europeans, when they had discovered a new continent, brought pathogens with them that destroyed the local empires. It would be like the plot of a science fiction suspense movie where interstellar travel was possible and an unknown bacterium attached to the homecoming spacecraft causing a terrible crisis on the home planet. It would mean that contact between mankind and the digital world had forever changed this world and the creatures living in it. Was that a good or a bad thing? Nobody knew. After all, it wasn't the police's job to neatly draw a line between what was right from wrong. These areas contained the secret and furtive agendas of many minds. A wireframe schematic appeared on her heads-up virtual monitor. The Last Coast. No one knew how it had gotten the name, but it was the name of the beach with the red iron sand. Digi-eggs that washed up in the flow of garbage data often ended up here. Some poachers took advantage of that. "Deputy Squad Leader, we have a suspicious Digimon in sight!" The voice chat through the police radio said. Several red dots flashed across her virtual monitor on the estuary area of the map. They were unidentified Digimon. "This is Tamahime. Continue the search." She borrowed the eye of her Digimon, which stuck out from the river surface like a periscope. "Detailed search is underway," her voice chat replied. "SPMon, child level, cyborg type, virus species." "Got it," she said. "Looks like a tin can toy." The Digimon's appearance was hard to describe and definitely going to be damn difficult to report for her records later. At a quick glance, it looked like it could have been a toy from one of those retro comedy robot shows that were popular in the Showa era. It was like an upside-down snowman with a head bigger than its body. It had manipulator arms and its legs were simply rocket-propelled nozzles. "I count 4. "They must be code crackers," she hissed. "The 4 of them are all bots, those assholes." She clicked her tongue. The words bots was police slang for a Digimon that was automatically controlled by tools. "The Digimon has been pretty popular among the code crackers lately," came the voice of one of her men through the voice chat. "Yeah, cyborg Digimon work well with tools," she agreed. "It's a beginner's choice." It was a common code cracker technique to implement AI tools on a Digimon and then let those Digimon run through the digital world to search within certain areas and collect data that the code cracker was looking for. If this was a real-world server, they would have been targeting corporate secrets and personal information. But in the remote part of the digital world, there was only one thing that code crackers wanted to make money of. "How many Digi-eggs did you get?" "Only one so far." The police eavesdropped on their devices, picking up grim voice chat conversation among the code crackers. Their voices sounded young. There was no evidence of a voice changer in use. "Their voice chat is fully leaked. Are they amateurs?" she asked. The Digimon were bots, but the code crackers controlling them were also logged into the internet. They must have felt like they were playing an online game. "What do we do, Deputy Squad Leader?" Her men were controlling their Digimon through docks and tools, just like the code crackers. Their view of this rusty coast and digital world could only be observed in the form of schematic diagrams and numbers on the virtual monitors. They couldn't directly see it or smell it. They knew, but they didn't understand. Those were the words of a famous scholar from somewhere. The only one who knew, and the only one who was physically here, was Deputy Squad Leader Satsuki Tamahime. She used a tool to block more than 99% of her olfactory senses. Satsuki's Digimon actually loved poor environments like this rusty iron beach, but it wasn't for her. Police can't just pick and choose their criminals, so arrest them all. More than 10 green dots suddenly appeared on the virtual monitor's schematic. The code crackers SPMon had long been surrounded by Satsuki and her team. "Jam their voice chat," she continued. "The Commandmon squads will break off into 2 and overpower targets from both sides. Roger!" The SPMon did not notice them. The code crackers couldn't see them in the first place, and they probably didn't know even what sort of place their Digimon were in right now. The only thing they could see was the crude LCD screen of their Digimon docks in hand. That's why they weren't alerted to what was going on. But Satsuki could see them, as they actually were, with all 5 of her senses. She was one of the people who had broken the constraints. "How dare yous come here, you goddamn poachers!" Their voice chat was jammed, followed by this warning. Upon hearing the beautiful feminine voice echo in the background, the Espimon finally noticed their presence. The Digimon of Satsuki's men, who had been quietly scuttling around them, stood up at that voice and surrounded the poachers. Commandramon, child level, cyborg type, virus species. The Commandramon were equipped with police regulation attire. They looked like humanoid dragons or lizard men in their appearance. They wore body armor and a helmet with "police" written on the front, and they carried assault rifles. The Commandramon had a special textured surface added onto their bodies, which allowed them to turn on electronic warfare camouflage on themselves based on their surroundings. This was how they could approach their enemy undetected. Found the Digi-Egg! The Commandramon secured the poached Digi-Egg. Delicious. The code crackers, tools, and everything else were secured. All that remained now was to round up the actual code crackers themselves to finish the job. Nothing more to say after that. The Digi-Police? It's the Digi-Police! Shit! The code crackers finally caught on to what was happening, but could do nothing more than grumble in the voice chat. Satsuki announced the current time of the arrest and charges. "You've been caught red-handed. Come quietly or else. And just so you know, there's no point in trying to escape. We've got your identities. Don't underestimate the police. We have your names and the schools you attend." The annoying thing about it was that the code crackers were apparently high school students. As minors, they could be taken into custody, but they wouldn't be officially arrested. One of their seniors was probably a bad influence and urged them to become code crackers for profit. This kind of thing happened all the time. "We're arrested on what charges?" a high schooler said. "We've done nothing wrong. You've violated the Unauthorized Computer Access Prevention Act, the Basic Network Act, and the Digital Vandalism Prevention Act. In other words, you're guilty of poaching Digi-Eggs, you dumb shit." Satsuki spoke bluntly. "This is the digital world," they protested. "It's not a country. Why are the Japanese police getting involved?" I see. The code cracker kids had some knowledge, so they weren't going down without a fight. Satsuki took a deep breath, her voice dropping in a tone to one of thick tension. "You think you're free to do whatever you want in the network and in the digital world? That's the crack team's philosophy, isn't it? You bring up a big topic, but since you're talking about is trash anyway, go say that shit on your social media. I'll knock your teeth out, you shitty code crackers." Drip, 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 drip. Satsuki's Digimon, which had been hiding underwater with only its eyeballs protruding from the surface, appeared in full form like a submarine. "No!" The red lights of the police siren flashed, seeing that Digimon, with their horrible moaning and sliming intensity, made the code crackers Espimon tremble. Satsuki's Digimon was... "Unplug your ears and listen up, fuckers. In the end, your identity is that you're all Japanese citizens, and as long as you're involved in illegal activities, the Japanese police are gonna get you and call up your guardians, you assholes. Hey, don't move." Divanshi. The Espimon suddenly disappeared. One after another, the Commandramon lost sight of the targets at the ends of their muzzles. It was vanishing magic. As soon as the Espimon pressed the button on their belly buttons, they melted into the red seaside background. Optical camouflage, those cheeky bitches. It was an invisibility cloak. There were a volley of bullets. The Commandramon all fired their assault rifles at the same time. It was the firepower of an entire squad. The Espimon, however, clad in camouflage, outmatched by Commandramon, managed to slip past the police circle. This was thanks to the Digimon's AI built-in self-defense function rather than any code cracker's ability. "Mechanorimon!" As soon as Satsuki gave the order, 2 more Digimon appeared behind her, shedding their camouflage. Mechanorimon, machine type, adult level, virus species. The Digimon was larger than Espimon and Commandramon in terms of scale. It was about 3 to 4 meters tall. Its body color was white and looked like a robot, humanoid power suit with long arms. While Digimon were classified as police equipment, the Mechanorimon were classified as special-purpose vehicles. Inside each of them was a dedicated Commandramon who was in charge of piloting the vehicle. Whirr, whirr. The Mechanorimon's single eye glared as it probed the area. Because the Mechanorimon were equipped with powerful detectors, sensors, and other electronic warfare equipment, they could serve as field command vehicles. Scree! An optical weapon emitted from the linear lens embedded in the Mechanorimon's body. Twinkle beam! With a flurry of sparks, the optical camouflage of one Espimon dissolved as it fell with a thump onto the beach in a scattering of iron sand. The 3 remaining red dots on the virtual monitor faded fast as they broke up running. Don't let him get away! Shoot! We're charging for the next round! We can't catch them all! Just as Satsuki and her subordinate aboard the Mechanorimon said this, Petite impulse! A bolt of lightning pierced the rusty coast, followed by a thunderclap. Satsuki didn't react to this right away, taken aback by this unexpected event. Huh? The Espimon! The remaining Espimon blackened, crashed to the ground in wreckage one after the other. The lightning bolt had struck them down simultaneously and with great precision. Who had done it? Satsuki looked at the new indicator that had appeared on her heads-up virtual monitor. It was just standing there, seemingly unperturbed on top of the deactivated Espimon. It looked like a legendary beast of thunder. Is that Pulsemon? Pulsemon, child level, beast type, vaccine species. Known as Lightning Bolt, it was difficult to even catch sight of this Digimon as he moved at a high-speed zigzag pattern. Could it be another codecracker? The Commandramon squad readied their guns. The only one, Satsuki said slowly, who uses Pulsemon is... She knew his name all too well. As far as the police know, it can only be one. He's a hacker. Deputy Squad Leader, your orders. It's that hacker, Judge. Zap! Pulsemon glanced at Satsuki's Digimon. You're too soft, Pulsemon said. Deputy Squad Leader of the Digi-Police. With a smile and blowing a kiss, he sped off immediately, like a lightning bolt into the net ocean. What the? Satsuki sputtered. That pisses me off. Deputy Squad Leader, the Commandramon squad insisted on instructions. Satsuki shook internally with anger at being ridiculed, but remembered her position as field commander and managed to maintain her composure. We've got the Espimon under control, and that poached Digi-Egg is secured. We'll let jurisdiction handle them in the real world. But the Pulsemon, leave that hacker jerk alone. We can't catch up to him anyway. He's also... Satsuki sulked. Pulsemon and the hacker that Pulsemon was linked with was the same as Satsuki. They had broken through the constraints as well. Copy that, Deputy Squad Leader! Sorry, we're going over the K-line. If we exceed the time limit, Squad Leader will nag about it, and we'll get penalised with a pay cut. Yes, of course, after you, but what about the Digi-Egg? The subordinate reported quickly. Huh? Satsuki could feel her mood drop to uncontrollable levels. The Digi-Egg that had been lying on the beach earlier was gone. The one who had snatched it away, of course, had been, like a bolt of lightning. Pulsemon, hacker, judge! Give me back my evidence, goddammit! Chapter 1, Part 6. Eiji Nagasumi, aka Cracker Fang, visited his client Professor Rusenji of Abbott Electronics, AE, at his Denrin Digital Laboratory, DDL. There, he received a Digimon along with the latest Digimon dock, the Digimon Linker. After getting takeout at the restaurant in front of the metro station, a beef bowl with a soft-boiled egg on the side, Eiji headed home in high spirits that he hadn't felt in a long time. Ding! He rang the bell of the Buddhist altar. His room was a very small one-room apartment, the size of 3 tatami mats, with a loft, furniture-style, Buddhist altar, and LED candles. He didn't usually offer incense because that would cause a fire. I'm home, Mum, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa. He greeted his dog too. His family mortuary table had the names of his family members. For some reason, there was even one for a dog that he had a long time ago. Placing his hands together in a prayer, Eiji sat down to eat dinner alone at the table. He looked at the Digimon Linker on his arm. Never seen a Digimon like you before. Lugamon. The colour screen showed a dog-like Digimon sitting fluffed up in a ball. I want you to raise this Digimon. The request from Rusenji had been quite simple. If one scrolled through Grimm, they'd find that Digimon training jobs were prevalent. In pet terms, it was like being a breeder. Because the growth of Digimon was a kind of learning AI program, their behavioural patterns from birth were largely relevant to its matured state. This meant that code crackers who were experts in dealing with Digimon could also serve as breeders. If you're interested in my research, then you encounter with Lugomon ought to be very interesting. If Professor Senji had that much expectation in me, then I've got to do my best. Eiji had never been this excited before in his life. Nothing could go wrong as long as he followed the professor's lead. However, Eiji had little experience in training Digimon. I have 3 Tyrannomon, but all I'm doing is fine-tuning them with tools. I guess you could call that part of the training process. He laid his Digimon dock on the table. A pixelated Tyrannomon showed on the monochrome LCD screen. The dock that stored the Tyrannomon was small enough to fit in the palm of his hand. This type of dock was outdated in terms of specs, but blueprints were available, so it was relatively easy to obtain parts and make one for yourself. Shops with grim code crackers as their target audiences sold special cases and complete units. Eiji also owned a few of them. The professor said something about the memory card being corrupted in my delivery dock, so I'll have to switch out those parts. But since I have this Digimon linker, there's no need to rush. Eiji grinned at the memory as he looked at the new Digimon linker around his wrist. This Lugomon was like a good luck charm for Eiji. He couldn't help but think that he needed to take good care of them. Still though, why do I have to wear my Digimon linker 24 hours a day, even when I'm in the shower? It wasn't really a problem, since it was completely waterproof and antibacterial, but still. Lugomon grew during the 2-3 days that it took for Eiji to learn how to operate the new gadget. It was a Digimon that grew up fast as they felt Eiji's heartbeat through the Digimon linker. It feels like I have my own kid, growing as big as I can carry them around in my heart. Eiji looked fondly at the Digimon in his wristwatch. Digimon growth, in other words, their evolution, is systematic. When a Digimon hatches from a Digi-Egg, they start off the baby level. Like a newborn baby, it has not yet learned anything and is not immediately useful as a tool. Normally, one would start raising a Digimon from this baby level. However, Lugomon was already at the child level, the next stage of growth. Eiji posted questions to breeders in Grimm. Naturally, he didn't mention his job from Musenji or about Lugomon, but he did ask about how to raise dog-like Digimon in general. After all, when he searched Grimm for information on Lugomon, he didn't get any hits. AI learning programs and training programs. There's actually a lot to this. It might even be a bit of a pain in the neck. Eiji started to almost regret taking this job. When was the last time I even owned a pet? I guess not since my dog died when I was a kid. To see firsthand, with my own eyes, the natural digital world and the Digimon in their own habitat, to see the Digimon world directly with all my 5 human senses, and not through virtual monitors or observational data. That was kind of impressive research that Rusenji was conducting. If that sort of thing is possible, then I want to see it. I want to see the world Professor Rusenji sees. A world where the Digimon are living creatures, huh? If I raise you, Lugomon, if I got you to evolve to your perfect or ultimate form, would something change for me? To break the constraints between the real world and the digital world, if he could become a top-notch code cracker like that, which Rusenji said was possible. There was the sound of a notification. Eiji picked up his smartphone. He had received a reply to his question post on Grimm. Fang, congrats on becoming a Digimon breeder. If you're raising a Digimon from child level, then I recommend keeping it with a number of other Digimon. When you have more than one Digimon together, they'll play and learn from each other. I see! So you can keep a number of Digimon together. Many thanks to collective knowledge. Eiji immediately connected his Tyrannomon's dock to the Digimon linker. Being the latest model, the Digimon linker had more than enough capacity and processing power. It would be a good idea to transfer his Tyrannomon in with his Lugomon for company. But, in his excitement, Eiji didn't read the rest of the answer. Some Digimon have a social hierarchy though, much like dogs do. It's important that you discipline them first, which was why trouble came about several days later. Chapter 1, Part 7. After receiving an urgent call from Abaddon Electronics' Denrin Digital Laboratory, Eiji immediately went to Rusenji's office at DDL and cried out with a teary voice, Professor Rusenji! Oh, good morning, Eiji-kun. It was already afternoon, but Rusenji seemed to be the type to always say good morning. "What is wrong with this Digimon?" He showed Lugumon napping on the Digimon Linker screen, who appeared to be having a good dream on a full stomach. "Ah, looks like you're doing a great job with his training. I look forward to seeing him evolve." Rusenji smiled. Digimon change forms as they grow, starting from Digi-Egg to baby level 1 and 2, child level, adult level, perfect level, then ultimate level. It was similar to how insects, for example, grew from egg to larva, then pupa, then adult. What made it different, however, was that the same individual transformed into a completely different Digimon. This was why the growth of a Digimon was labelled as evolution, in the academic sense. "If you evolve him to adult level, I'll pay you an incentive." "An incentive? An additional reward?" "If you get him to perfect or ultimate level, you'll get even higher rewards. I wonder what kind of Digimon Lugumon will evolve into. I'd like to see Eiji-kun and Lugumon looking cool together," Rusenji said, supportively, quite obviously baiting him. "You want to see what?" Eiji spluttered. "Don't try to change the subject by metaphorically dangling money in front of my face. That's the behaviour of a bad adult." "You saw the training report that I sent you yesterday, right?" Eiji complained. "I get hundreds of emails every day, so actually I hardly open any of them," Rusenji admitted shamelessly. "Sure," Eiji said, backtracking. There we are. "You'd lose days of work if you checked them all." "That's right. I'm a researcher, and I don't have the time for anything but my research. However, Eiji-kun, I do have notifications on for your messages, so that I can check them immediately." "I felt that in my heart a bit," Eiji said, clutching his chest. "You're a very important business partner of mine, Eiji-kun." Eiji couldn't dislike this part of the professor in the least. In fact, it made Eiji like him even more. The world's leading authority on the digital world claimed that Eiji, a code cracker brat, was his business partner. Rusenji opened Eiji's report on the monitor and played the attached video file. Lugumon, child level, magical beast type, virus species. He was in a virtual training cage. The video was dated to yesterday's date. Lugumon was eating food. Digimon stop growing if they don't eat. This is why, when they get hungry, they instinctively continue to eat food. It may seem strange for an AI to eat food, but food was, in essence, data and information. Even human beings would not grow in any way, shape or form if they did not read books, watch videos and study to obtain information. For some reason, there were 4 plates of food in front of Lugumon, and for some reason, the 3 Tyrannomon that had been housed with Lugumon were all trembling in a corner of the cage. "Even with 3 Tyrannomon, he's too much to handle?" Rusenji observed, sounding curious. "Tyrannomon are adult level, and yet this child-level Lugumon has them under his paws. Lugumon is a magical beast type, which strongly influences data relating to wolves," Rusenji explained. "Wolves, so is not a dog." Eiji mussed his own hair in frustration. "Oh, he is a dog, so to speak, but more primitive than the type of dog that was directly descended from tamed wolves," Rusenji said. "In any case, they form a pack and have an alpha. Such packs are strict about their social hierarchy order." "So, is this because I kept them all in the same cage? Did Lugumon make the Tyrannomon his minions?" "More or less. Obviously, the boss has first dibs on the food." Rusenji was smiling for some reason. "But that doesn't make it right for him to eat the other's food. He's such a glutton. He even tried to eat one of my Tyrannomon at the beginning." "Oh, wow. Now, that's quite interesting. That sounds much more like the mythical demon wolf that dares to eat the giant gods." "The sight was too horrible to make a video of. Anyway, this guy eats too much, he costs too much, and poops too much." "And? What? Do you have a problem with that?" Rusenji asked back. "I see. All of this was simply interesting developments to a genius researcher." Eiji took a deep breath. "The following data that I got is the result of benchmarking Lugumon. It's definitely not your average growth score. By the way, Professor, What is the thing on Lugamon's forehead? AG paused the video and zoomed in. Lugamon wore a mask or face protector that covered his forehead and nose. On it, where his forehead was attached a shiny, jewel-like object. I've been wondering about it, AG admitted. Sometimes it even glows. I'm not sure what to say about it, Rusenji said, but good on you for noticing, Eiji-kun. Thanks. So, how do you feel about him? You have tried using him already, haven't you? He's so peaky that I can't evaluate his performance as an AI tool. Eiji paused for effect. What do you mean? It's not that the tool's commands don't work. He just won't listen to what I tell him. Forget getting him to work, he won't even go for a walk. This dog that I used to have years ago was the type to pull the leash because he loved going on walks so much. So you don't think you can raise him? I didn't say that. Raising him is my job, and I'm interested in Lugamon. I'll definitely get him to evolve. Try to hololyze it, Rusenji said. Eiji chose a command on his digital linker. The still sleeping Lugamon was hololyzed. He was big and bulky. Child-level Digimon, depending on the type of course, are usually about 1 meter in length. Lugamon was about the size of a Siberian husky or a small wolf. His physical form was small but stout, so he had a strong presence while indoors. His fur was blue-grey, like a grey wolf. His eyes were red. Eiji would have liked to pet him with both hands if he could. The Digimon linker checks your bioinformation 24 hours a day, Eiji-kun. I've inspected the data along with Lugamon's training information, and my word! Rusenji gave a large shout. What? Don't surprise me like that. You are truly remarkable, Rusenji raved. Huh? Why am I being complimented? Look at this number. Rusenji brought up the evaluation report and pointed excitedly at the screen. What's DS value? Actually, I can't even read this. The numerical number was blinded out for privacy. It wasn't a term that Eiji had heard, not even in code cracker circles. That's D4. Oh, so it's classified. DS values is one of the indicators that I've designed to assess one's compatibility with a Digimon. Eiji-kun, your compatibility with Lugamon is already second to none, even compared to the best code crackers. Seriously? Eiji looked at Lugamon, who remained napping on the floor. I'm glad I was right about offering you the job. So, does this mean that Lugamon can evolve right away? Eiji asked excitedly. To adult level? Even perfect and ultimate? I can't say for sure. Why not? The DS value is only an indicator of potential. So it might be still possible then? Eiji was undeterred. His compatibility with Digimon. Eiji had never really thought about that before. The extent of it, for him, had mainly been whether or not the Digimon was easy for him to use as a tool. I've only been in contact with Digimon like Tyrannomon and stuff, the ones that pretty much everyone else uses. The more prevalent a Digimon was among codecrackers. The easier it was to adjust tools to suit your needs. This was because you could listen to what other people did and copy them. Recently, cyborg types were all the rage. Where have you been getting your Digimon? Rusenji asked. At Grimm? Yeah, though that's still slightly illegal in Japan. There are countries where it is legal after all. There are no borders and laws in the network, in the digital world. Yes, there are no borders in the digital world. Eiji-kun, do you know where that quote came from? Rusenji asked. Eiji was stumped. Who is it from? Doesn't everyone say that? It's like a set phrase among grim codecrackers at this point. And you saying there's a source? At this answer, Rusenji shrugged his shoulders dramatically. What was your occupation again, Eiji-kun? I'm a codecracker. Then you know of crack teams, don't you? Chapter 1, Part 8. Crack teams. They are a community of anonymous individuals who upheld the philosophy of being free to do whatever you want in the network and in the digital world as their goal. There is no membership list. It is not a special club of friends. Even crack teams had diverse groups within them. They all had different ideologies, principles, and goals. Often, they even broke out into fights among each other. Crack teams are at odds with the existing law and government. A group of outcasts that were labelled as an antisocial group. Through a process of elimination, this was the only common denominator that was shared among all crack teams. Nevertheless, those who called themselves code crackers more or less agreed with the crack team philosophy and slowly participated as such. A short promotional movie on crack teams that was uploaded to Grimm's video service played on the monitor. Be free to do whatever you want in the network and in the digital world. The digital world has no borders or laws. Therefore, no government of ours or laws can oppose any activities that involve Digimon, Rusenji said. This was a common argument from the code crackers' POV. Stuff like that goes over my head, but, Eiji shrugged, it was simply the most lucrative lucrative job for me at the time, since I had no connections or education. Eiji had first gotten interested in code cracking while he was still in high school. One of his seniors, who had a bit of a bad streak, talked him into doing it for the money. This story was a common one. It was probably a good fit for him, though. He made more than enough money doing it on a part-time basis. But after a bunch of stuff happened and he gave up on taking college entrance exams, Eiji started to take code cracking much more seriously. He decided that he'd try to make a living at it. It's good that you can do what you love, Rusenji said. Yes, seriously, I just work jobs that I like doing. But to the government, code crackers are the network's worst offenders, causing nothing but trouble. I'm careful of traps, Eiji protested. I don't get too greedy, or the Digipolice will come after me. The police department that handled cybercrimes had a team that dealt specifically with Digimon crimes. The Digipolice. It was a secret organisation unknown to the public, but well known among code crackers. Just recently, a high school student was arrested by the Digipolice for acting as a code cracker poaching Digi-eggs. You've joined the crack team, but you're not really interested in their ideals, Rusenji mused. Is the idea of freedom for something that you take off at the end of the day something trendy? Shallow of me, right? But the things that I want most right now are a job and credentials. Credentials, eh? I wonder where your future is leading you, Eiji-kun. What is your dream? I want to win, Eiji replied sincerely. Oh? Win what? I couldn't be a winner in real life, but on the internet, if I get big on the internet and rise to power, I ought to be able to change reality. To do that, I want to earn money, evolve my Digimon, and become a top-class code cracker. I want to reach the point where I have a team of my own. Would you need to be a code cracker to do those things? Yes! For me, the digital world is the only place where I can really change my life. Eiji had a premonition. This job was once-in-a-lifetime chance to become a code cracker of the highest caliber and to change his life. I want to be on the same level as you, Professor Rusenji. If it is possible to interact with the digital world directly with all 5 senses and not through monitors or observational data, if I could do that, as it actually was, it would be possible to live in the digital world. Upon hearing Eiji's words, Rusenji smiled. The digital world can change a person's life, much like it did mine. Eiji took those words as that of a successful man who'd become one of the wealthiest figures in the world. He had nothing at the moment. No savings, no education, and moreover, no girlfriend. He didn't have the luxury for those things. His life was spent in a cramped 3-mat room, living on an unhealthy, irregular diet. Being able to survive a day at a time, like he did now, probably wasn't something that he could sustain in the long run. He would simply be wasting away like that, just getting older as time went by. That was boring. I want to change my life. I want to be a winner in the digital world. Eiji made up his mind. He had no intention of losing out on his unlikely acquaintance with Professor Rusenji. No matter how hard or frustrating it might be, he would master his Digimon linker and the training job with Lugumon. No matter what. Sometimes, by changing your viewpoint to a different angle, one can finally understand the world that you thought you'd known and seen for a long time, Rusenji murmured. Thank goodness, this is great. I had asked you to train Lugumon, but I was also testing you as well, Eiji-kun. Ugh, here we go again. If you were invested in crack teams down to their ideology, if you were a foolish, happy-go-lucky kid drunk on the idea of freedom, I wasn't going to give you this job. SOC. An insignia, a badge, with 3 letters of the English alphabet. The badge that featured in the promotional video was a familiar sight to anyone who has ever tried to peek into the network underground. Sons of Chaos. Eiji gulped. The Sons of Chaos indeed. Rusenji said mildly, It appears you know one of them. Of course I do. They're an incredibly famous group of code crackers. What is your honest impression of SOC? Eiji then answered, A group of dangerous guys, I guess. The SOC were top-notch. Eiji would even admit to admiring them. But if you wanted to enjoy a carefree, easygoing life, they were people that you needed to stay away from. The SOC were extremists, a militant organisation that was considered to be the far right of crack teams. They're known for their crimes, using Digimon, information theft, corporate blackmail, cyber-terrorism, you name it, Eiji continued. But their leader is so charismatic, the legendary code cracker Tartarus, who was the mastermind behind the Cyclops incident. The person who went to war with the world. The Cyclops incident won't be described here. It was the trigger that made it impossible for the leaders of the international community to ignore the existence of code crackers, crack teams, and the digital world. The identity of SOC's leader, Code Crackers Tartarus, was unknown. Apparently they were Japanese, but beyond that there wasn't even a whiff of rumour. They're like a dark hero. Certainly Tartarus is very popular, even more so than I am. Rusenji smiled. Grimm has a lot of Tartarus followers too. On the other hand, a lot of people hate them because when extremists like that get too conspicuous, the laws and regulations get tightened. That's just it. Rusenji looked at Eiji. The SOC is meddling with the digital world in a very negative way. Their excessive interference is creating risks to the Digimon ecosystem, and ultimately to human society. And naturally, it's threatening my research as well. That's what I am most concerned about. I see. If stricter legal restrictions were to be enforced and cause the digital world and the real world to grow even further isolated from each other, more so than they are now, it would be unfortunate for both humans and Digimon. Wouldn't you agree? Rusenji remained in a neutral camp when it came to code crackers. He wouldn't have hired Eiji in the first place if he wasn't. However, when it came to violent crimes and terrorism using Digimon, he was deeply concerned. This was because, ultimately, he loved Digimon. If there was one thing that Rusenji found deplorable, it was humans and code crackers who misused Digimon and put them in danger. Don't you have lots of contacts in the government, though? Politicians and the like? Eiji asked back. Rusenji was a government expert on technology and their special advisor to the digital world. If Eiji remembered correctly, he was also involved in choosing the police equipment. Of course, Rusenji said. I lobbied for changes. However, the current Prime Minister is all about sitting back and observing, not acting. The police just follow the law and crack down on code crackers. Relevant laws are not yet in place and the ones we have are insufficient. It's not going well. Professor, what you're telling me sounds like you're taking a dangerous direction. Do you want me to stop talking about it then? Not at all, it's making me more and more excited. Ever since Eiji had decided to become a code cracker, he knew that he would want to do a job like this one day. Not capturing Digimon, or collecting Digi-eggs, or junk data. He wanted to confront other code crackers as a fully fledged code cracker himself. A dangerous job with a more just feel to it. I want you to do an undercover investigation into SOC, Rusenji said, to find out what their mysterious leader Tartarus is up to. Do this for the sake of the digital world and the Digimon. To protect them. Chapter 1, Part 9. Professor Rusenji asked Eiji to investigate the Sons of Chaos, SOC, a destructive group of code crackers. Join the SOC as a fellow code cracker. I want you to make contact with their leader Tartarus and find out what their goal is. The SOC organisation consisted of a group of hardliners who were said to be the worst and strongest of all code-cracking teams. Lately, they had been showing signs of planning something large-scale. Intelligence agencies and police forces from all over the world were on the case. But Rusenji felt that even the digital world wasn't completely impartial to what could occur. Therefore, he hired a personal code cracker to investigate, to protect the digital world and the Digimon. The reward offered to Eiji was through the roof, but what moved Eiji's heart more than anything else was Rusenji's passion. If the activities of SOC and Tartarus caused the international community to view not only code crackers, but even the digital world as dangerous and Digimon as the enemy, the ecology of the Digimon world, nay, the very lives of the Digimon, will be at stake. Long ago in Europe, the US, and even in Japan, wolves were eradicated simply for preying on livestock. This tragedy had to be avoided from being reproduced in the digital world. Digimon were living creatures. Eiji was greatly influenced by this viewpoint from his role model, Rusenji. In other words, I'm a spy, Eiji said out loud, in his cramped single bedroom. A fluffy lump with its belly up lay sprawled at the floor of his futon on the loft. It was the holization of Lugomon. Pets weren't allowed in here because the room was a rental, but that rule didn't apply to digital pets. "Listen up, Lugomon," Eiji said to the Digimon. "We're gonna infiltrate SOC and find out who Tartarus really is. Don't let your guard down." He had never spoken with intent to a Digimon before. Lugomon continued to lay with its feet in the air, cocking his head like a dog. There were many opinions on how well Digimon understood human language, but "We'll be dealing with SOC after all. Those guys are hardcore code crackers and really scary to boot. My ordinary Tyrannomon wouldn't stand a chance. You, on the other hand, would be a rare find even for them, even if you're still a child level." Eiji was going to sell himself as Cracker Fang. Everything would start from there. He stretched out a hand to stroke the jewel in Lugomon's forehead. Of course, he couldn't actually touch it, but the moment his fingers went there, Lugomon growled and bared his teeth. "Oh, you don't like that, huh? Sorry. Now that I think about it, I once had a dog that got mad whenever I tried to pet it. The dog had been cuddly to his parents, but only behaved that way toward Eiji for some reason." The alarm went off. It was time to get to work. "Let's go, Lugomon." He undid the holization, returning Lugomon to the Digimon linker screen. Attaching a voice chat intercom over his ear, Eiji leaned against the loft wall and opened the Digimon linker menu. A virtual monitor projected on the heads-up screen. This was another application of holization technology. Once Eiji connected the virtual monitor to his network, he logged into Grim. Joining the SOC itself was not difficult. Once you obtained an invitation code from Grim's member registration page, you could come and go from the SOC's private channel as a part-timer. Eiji had applied to the SOC in advance and secured an appointment. SOC deals with government agencies, the military, police, and global corporations. That sort of bunch. The level of codecracker skills that we look for is quite high, to say the least. What's more, it's risky. A senior member of SOC was speaking with Eiji via voice chat. It was an online interview. "So, it's easy to apply, but if you don't have the code cracking skills, you're turned away," Eiji mused. "Do you have what it takes, newbie?" "The name's Fang." Yes, Cracker Fang. Are you willing to put your real life on the line to be part of SOC?" The interviewer's username only said interviewer. The icon that they used on Grim looked like a standard Showa-era salaryman wearing his necktie as a headband. His voice, however, sounded like a section chief or something. It was the voice of an older gentleman. "So, let me ask you instead, if my skills are up to par, will I get to meet Tartarus?" Eiji got right down to business. On the internet, it was not considered a social faux pas for code crackers to speak frankly and bluntly with each other. "Are you interested in our leader?" The interviewer's voice tinged with hint of caution. "Who wouldn't be? They're a legendary genius." "You're really young, aren't you? Are you in high school? Or maybe junior high school?" The interviewer laughed. "Well, how old are you, Mr. Interviewer?" "It doesn't matter if I tell you if I'm a 60-year-old fart or a 17-year-old high school girl, because there's no way to prove it. Here, we simply sound and look like how we want others to believe we are." Insisting on your high level of internet literacy is a characteristic of a certain salty generation of old men, though, isn't it? AG had a hunch that the interviewer really was an old man. "Oh, please continue," AG said. There was a brief pause. "Our leader, Tartarus, is a mystery. Low-level members like me have never even heard their voice." "A mystery, huh?" So that was how the organization wanted to spin it. If you're the genius code cracker you think you are, and you have a good track record, one of the executives will get in touch with you without you even needing to go looking. If you get access to the executive's chat room, maybe you'll get to talk to Tartarus. It looked like this was going to take a while. The only way to get in touch with Tartarus would be to participate in SOC activities and make a name for himself. The organization was a meritocracy. So, is this job that I'm about to take the SOC's employment exam? That's one way to look at it. For your reference, the difficulty level for this is equivalent to the semi-A level. I've shared the file with you on Grim. I've also opened up a channel exclusive to the mission. A summary of the mission displayed on the virtual monitor. The name of the mission can be whatever you choose. Wolf at the Back Gate Strategy, AG requested. Why that? Just the first thing that came to mind. There was no real meaning behind it. If there were to be a meaning assigned, it would be because it was his wolf, Lugamon's first battle. It signified that AG had made up his mind as a code cracker to do something that had no turning back. A wolf at the back gate. Very well, the interviewer said. That's kind of long though, so we'll just call it Operation Wolf. That's too short. Are you really sure that you're going for a semi-A? In 9 out of 10 cases, you'll lose your precious Digimon. Needless to say, we do not insure or provide compensation for their loss. I gotcha, AG said. Prepare a welcome party. Welcome party for what? To celebrate me as a new SOC executive. Big words, but it was not a foolhardy move on AG's part. He had something special in store. In order to infiltrate SOC, I have temporarily lifted the functions on your Digimon linker. For this job, the reliable Rusenji had provided AG with the means to improve his codecracker skills in one fell swoop. It was the results of D4's research, the very thing that would push him past the constraints. I'll go see it. I can see the world the way that the elite see it. The Digimon linker and Lugamon that Professor Rusenji gave me will make that possible. AG took a deep breath. Please read the file for details of the operation. I wish you success. Thanks, Mr. Interviewer. AG gazed at the Digimon linker screen. Lugamon looked back at him through the small monitor, silently. Digimon are alive. I bet I'll learn what Professor Rusenji meant when he said that. He selected the menu. Mind Link. The sensor measured his biometric data and allowed the command after checking his vitals. The limits were lifted. His consciousness was about to become light and thrown wide open. Now then, Mind Link. Chapter 1, Part 10. Sound and vision faded. The feeling of all his limbs, along with the weight of the Digimon linker on his wrist, went away. AG lost consciousness. Dizziness. The semicircular canals of his inner ear went awry. The world fell as if rolling down a slope, turning upside down, sinking. As he sank, he suddenly flashed back to memories of his childhood. Summer. He played in the river with his family. At the time, it was both his family and his friend's family. His very best friend. Leon! His friend's father, getting the barbecue ready, called out for his son. AG! His friend yelled out his name, heading out from the river towards the shore. But AG had been heading towards the sandbank and had unknowingly entered the river at its deepest point. When he turned around, his foot got caught in the sand at the bottom of the river. Oh no! One step ahead was an invisible cliff. AG considered himself to be a good swimmer, but a flowing river is different than a swimming pool. He couldn't float, he couldn't tread water, and could only plunge his head beneath the water surface. What he caught a glimpse of underwater was another world. What looked like a home of monsters was deeply gouged out from beneath the clean, flowing water, a place that could easily swallow up a child. Air bubbles swirled. It was going to swallow him whole, and then all of his senses disappeared. It was only for an instant. Nor was it. Something soft and fluffy gently received Eiji's consciousness. It felt similar to wearing a wetsuit while floating in water. Before long, light scattered through the bubbles to form an image. A new world. No, it was a world that he thought he was already familiar with. By changing his viewpoint, Eiji's consciousness was hit with new-found stimulation. It was so bright. The light was too strong here, and yet he couldn't close his eyes. What's going on here? Confusion? Anxiety? He didn't know what he was seeing or what was going on. The image seemed to zoom in coarsely like a digital zoom, but then faded away as he was looking through binoculars upside down. Static rang through his head. A bug flew into his ear and flailed around buzzing noisily. He smelled like an animal. It's like the smell of a wet dog here. What a bad dream. It's not a dream. That voice was the only thing that Eiji could hear clearly. Huh? Who's that? Crash! The sound of something being kicked over was heard as someone came running. Chumon, child level, beast type, virus species. The data was displayed above its head. A small rat Digimon appeared, moving like an old Western cartoon. The naked pink rat was holding pieces of data, pieces of cheese, and its arm. What was this place? The inside of a building. The walls, ceiling, and floor were concrete. Was it under construction? Or abandoned? Another Digimon emerged. Chuchumon, child level, puppet type, virus species. This was another rat Digimon. However, it was not a beast, but a puppet. A stuffed rat doll with sharp, glaring eyes. It was riding atop another machine-like Digimon. Damemon, adult level, mutant type, virus species. Its metallic-looking body was clutching a tonfa, a T-shaped club used in martial arts. Its appearance could be described as follows. A kettle with limbs? No, that thing looks like a pile of poo. Eiji was unsettled. If this was the phantasmic Digimon land brought to life, he would have been cheering loudly. But Eiji had put aside his pure childish heart, which would have once been amused by the mere appearance of poo in his time capsule of memories. Eiji looked coolly now at what was happening before his eyes. Damemon was a poo-shaped Digimon, being piloted by Chuchumon. You've got guts trying to steal from my family! Squeak! Please show mercy, Chuchumon! We're both fellow rats! Chuchumon threatened, while Chumon begged for their life as they clutched the cheese. Apparently, Chumon had run off stealing Chuchumon's food. It offends me to think that we're the same species, Chumon, Chuchumon said. No good, no good! Damemon pointed their tonfa at Chumon with a jerking motion. Just then, Chuchumon noticed Eiji's presence. By the way, you dog there. Huh? Dog, where? Eiji didn't know what they were talking about. What was this anyway? What was he being shown? The Digimon is talking? Haven't seen you around here. This is Wall Slum 6th Street and my family's turf. You should tuck in your tail and run away while I take care of Chumon here. If you're still in my sight after I'm done. A rat picking a fight with a wolf? Don't make me laugh. The voice that Eiji had heard before growled in his ears again. He took a step forward. No, Eiji hadn't moved at all. And yet, he was approaching Chumon, as though he was riding a car that had been moving on its own. From this day, this is my home turf. Get him, Damemon! Use gun Vulcan! Bam, 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 bam! The Vulcan cannon, embedded in the tonfa, discharged. Bullets chattered as they landed in the floor and walls. Chumon ran right and left to escape their trajectory. What? Eiji suddenly felt nauseous. It smells! My nose! It's burning! It was like poison gas. The bullets of gun Vulcan weren't powerful, but they released a horrible stench that was unbearable. Aha! Ha! This attack must be torture for a dog with a strong nose. Digimon fighting is all about exploiting weaknesses. Chuchumon cried out triumphantly at their successful strategy. No good, no good! I say we get rid of the stray first. Damemon, finish him off with your boost attack. Vroom! Some kind of energy swirled around Eiji. What? It was an ignited flame, bright and furious, moving faster than Damemon. Howling fire! A fireball ripped through the entire floor of the building. The flame consumed everything in a whirlwind of heat and shockwave. Damemon was blasted out of the building through a window. So hot! Eiji was surprised. He felt as though his face was being burned by a bonfire. Damemon is known for his toughness, and you took him out with a single attack. Chuchumon had rolled out of Damemon's cockpit and lay on the ground. The floor smouldered with flames. There was nothing to burn but the flames, and they weren't extinguishing right away. What kind of fire is this? It's no ordinary fire, Chuchumon panicked. Eiji glared down at the stuffed rat Digimon from above. Maybe I should eat you, he sniffed with his nose. Chuchumon's face pulled into a grimace as they trembled. That old interface on your forehead, Chuchumon gasped. Is that you, Lugomon? No, you're the demon wolf of Castle of the Nine Wolves. Lugomon? It was then Eiji gasped. Chuchumon was talking to Lugomon, which meant Eiji was... 9 wolves? Oh, I see. I remember now, the voice murmured in Eiji's ear. Sir, have you returned to Walslum? For some reason, Chumon's voice suddenly took on a more respectful tone. This conversation. Where and how was Eiji able to hear it? You don't look tasty at all. Get out of here. Lugomon turned his nose away. Chuchumon scampered off before the fearsome wolf could change his mind. Eiji, on the other hand, although completely baffled by this conversation, he regained his composure and spoke up. Lugomon, can you hear me? It's Eiji. Hey, Mr. Lugomon? Chapter 1, Part 11. That voice is Lugomon, isn't it? Could you go ahead and... could you please explain to me the circumstances here, sir? Eiji couldn't help taking on a more formal tone. Explain? Explain what exactly? I don't understand a single bit of what's going on. Where was this place? Why were the Digimon talking? And, most of all, what happened to Eiji? He was supposed to be up in his loft at home. Eiji Nagasumi, you didn't listen to anything that Rusenji told you? Huh? Rusenji? Eiji was taken aback that Lugomon referred to the professor so casually, without using his title. The Mind Link explanation. In order to infiltrate the SOC, I have temporarily lifted the functions on your Digimon linker. The research results of D4, a top secret within both AE and DDL, the professor had even said that it was a means to improve Eiji's code cracker skills in one go. It's a function that'll make me into an elite code cracker, right? Ugh. The professor's explanations are sometimes hard to understand, all right? Eiji felt slightly uncomfortable that his casual nodding along to cover up his own ignorance had been found out. Lugomon started walking. Oh, there's broken glass here, so watch. As Eiji spoke, he spotted the reflection of a Digimon in the large window shards, from their form illuminated by flickered flames. It was Lugomon. No matter how hard he peered into the glass, all he could see was Lugomon. I'm not here? Was Eiji seeing the same world as Lugomon? Thump! Another rat came rushing by. Good sir, I apologize that I failed to recognize you, the great boss of Castle of Nine Wolves. My name is Chumon, a lowly rat Digimon at your service. The Chumon who they'd happened to rescue by chance came forward in greeting. If you don't mind me asking, where have you been, sir? I haven't heard your name in these parts for quite some time. Rumour has it that either an assassin turned you into a digi-egg, or that you were captured by a human. Chumon dared to probe a little. Who allowed you to speak to me? Lugomon growled. Chew, so sorry. Do you really think that an assassin could turn me into a digi-egg?
Or that a human could collar me? Please forgive me!
Chumon trembled all over in fear. Lugumon sighed and quickly raised his head.
Yes, I remember now. The Dust Kingdom. You Chumon served the great Sukamon, ruler of the Fifth Avenue trash heap. Yes, sir. I'll look after you from now on, Lugumon said. Besides, you look tastier than the stuffed animal from earlier.
Lugumon sniffed Chumon and licked them. Yuck. Somehow, Eiji was also able to smell the rat and taste them with his tongue. The shock overwhelmed him.
Squeak!
Chumon cried in fear.
I promise to be of use of you, sir.
The demon wolf of Castle of Nine Wolves, huh? It's got a familiar ring to it. Lugumon whispered to himself.
Hey, Chumon. Yes, sir. Do the others think that I've been captured by a human, then? Oh, it's only a rumor. After you were gone, Ninth Avenue has gone absolutely dismal. It's deserted. Wall Slum looks to have changed a lot in my absence as well.
Here's your allowance. Take this. Lugumon threw food at Chumon.
This is real world meat. You sure eat the good stuff, sir, as befitting for your stature. Until next time, then.
After gathering the meat and cheese, Chumon ran away as though he never wanted to see Lugumon ever again. You finished talking now, sir? Eiji spoke timidly to Lugumon. Lugumon just sighed.
You want an explanation, right?
Yes, please. What do you humans say at times like this? Seeing is believing. The proof is in the pudding. What? Whoa! It happened so suddenly. Lugumon threw himself out of the broken window. Eiji experienced his first free fall of his life. Lugumon easily landed from a height of 3 to 4 stories and looked up. It was a sea of multi-story buildings. Among them was a dark skyscraper. It made one think of a deserted city sub-center just before dawn, isolated from glitz and glamour. Its windows were completely dark. Once he approached the tallest building in the area, Lugumon ran up, vertically, along its wall. He ran swiftly as his claws dug into the structure. He felt wind on his skin. Eiji shared all the sensations of the 5 senses that Lugumon was having. His eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. I see. So this was Professor Risenji's research. This is the top secret technology of D4. Because the digital world has a different structure from the human world, the real world, it could not be directly perceived by humans. For example, a submarine relies on instruments and sonar, and a space probe travels out of space. Humans can only perceive what is going on around us indirectly in those areas, through observed data. Would it be possible to somehow experience the digital world through the 5 human senses? After exploring this possibility, it was discovered that a human's mental data could be transferred into the digicore of a digital life form, that is, a Digimon, to create the closest thing to a true, real-life experience. MindLink is a technology that converts the human mind into digital data and transfers that human consciousness into a Digimon's digicore. Lugumon spoke as he ran up the skyscraper, not even sounding winded. The digicore is the data center of a Digimon's core. It is the core of life, the area that shows the Digimon as an individual, the ego or the soul of a Digimon, so to speak. Yes, I remember the professor saying something like that. Once it came clear to Eiji, he was more intrigued than bewildered. This was no tiny monochrome LCD screen. He was seeing the true state of the digital world and the Digimon with his own eyes. It wasn't through a virtual monitor and observational data. He was perceiving the digital world directly with his 5 human senses. Risenji had already perfected this technology. This was the answer. MindLink. It's like I've become Digimon, MindLink, so this is the world that the best of the best are seeing. Eiji cried with excitement. It's your first MindLink, so it's only natural that you'll be feeling some confusion. You'll get used to it soon enough. I'm already getting used to it, but when was my mental data converted into digital data? This Digimon linker has been sampling your biometric data, brainwaves, and level of consciousness for 24 hours a day. Seriously?
You mean my personal info is being leaked? What do you mean? That's what the Digimon link is for. The amount of data required to convert the human psyche into digital data is enormous. Professor Isenji is incredible. So incredible. Any other questions? I'm getting annoyed with your constant yelling in my Digicore. How am I supposed to talk to you? You're a Digimon. What a stupid question. It's because Digimon are alive. We've always been alive, and always will be. Digimon are alive. Lugumon, Tyrannomon, and all the rest of the Digimon were alive. I see. So the Digimon have been talking to me all along. You're just getting to know us Digimon a little better is all. After finally climbing to the top of the skyscraper, Lugumon stood triumphantly on the roof. The view from the area was... Chapter 1, Part 12. So this is the digital world! Words escaped him. Eiji didn't even have the ability to describe it with his vocabulary. As cliched as it was, it looked like a colony of cities built on an outer planet. The kind you only saw in science fiction movies. The sky was filled with a sea of networks. The city was densely packed with buildings that seemed to have been built over a small mountain. Light radiated from over its peaks. The buildings themselves sharply varied in height and material quality, spanning from the least planned communities you'd find in Denrin and the Middle East barracks, to barracks and slum housing. Meanwhile, absolutely no life existed outside the city in its surrounding area. Nothing of significance seemed to be there. It was like an erg filled with noise, concealed by sand, gas, and clouds. All that could be seen from time to time was a thin stream of junk data. Well, this is surprising. What do you call a place like this? Cyberpunk? I had no idea it was more like this. What's that supposed to mean? Lugumon asked. I mean, I always thought that the digital world would look more like the wild or something. The video of the digital world that Eiji had seen in DDL had been simulated by AI, but it had made him think of a beautiful, natural environment that had 4 seasons. This place is called Wall Slum, Lugumon said, matter-of-factly. Wall Slum, Eiji repeated. It's like the security wall that protects the digital world, Lugumon continued. This city is unique in that it has the collection of junk data sticking to the outer side of the wall. Security wall. This was another word pair that Eiji had never heard before. Take a look at the ground of the city. Wall Slum sits on a round surface, see? Oh yeah. As they both looked far off into the distance, Eiji could see that the horizon separating the net ocean and the outer wall of the security wall was indeed round. It was clearer than if they were, for example, looking down at the Earth from an airplane. The digital world is, to put it bluntly, protected inside the round shell of the security wall, Lugumon explained. This city that we're in right now hangs onto the outside of the eggshell. So the digital world is inside underground from here? If they had been on Earth, it would have been described as underground. But this was the digital world. The areas in this world were divided and protected from each other. The security wall that acted as a protective barrier, the ground that Eiji saw from here, was really the data processing, logical, and conceptual boundary that separated the real world from the digital world. If you humans tried to enter the digital world from the real world via the network, you'd have been blocked by the security wall. Wait, Eiji said. So, you're telling me that when code crackers were controlling Digimon with tools, what we thought was the digital world was actually... It was actually the Wall Slum. That's right. The Digimon used by code crackers were just puttering away through Wall Slum. Most code crackers don't even mind link, so they never see this view in the first place anyway. Lugumon's answer left Eiji speechless. So, Eiji's Tyrannomon had been chasing Modoki Betamon somewhere here, in Wall Slum? Has anyone ever gone beyond the security wall to the other side to, visit or observe the digital world? You mean a human? I doubt it. Though, I bet Risenji is researching a means to do so. Unprecedented. So,
No human, with the exception being this wall slum, had ever stepped into the digital world. Beyond the wall lay the deep digital world. Anyway, when Eiji was, by borrowing Lugamon's eyes through the mind link, saw what lay beneath the sea of networks, all of his knowledge and preconceptions about the digital world were flipped upside down. It was so easy to understand why leaders of the international community were so reluctant to refer to the digital world as anything other than mankind's secret. There was no telling what the digital world could do against the real world and to mankind. Digimon are living creatures, and this world that harboured life, no matter where its location, was filled to the brim with incomprehensible energy. Now then, Lugamon took a deep breath. Before Eiji's vision, or rather, before Eiji's conscious mind, where his mental data had fused with Digicore, a heads-up virtual monitor appeared. It was like being in the cockpit of a state-of-the-art fighter jet, or that of a mecha in a robot anime. What's wrong, Lugamon? Eiji, you remember why you came here, don't you? Oh, sorry, I forgot that you're a pathetic code cracker. A file appeared on the virtual monitor. Operation Wolf. Oh! The Sons of Chaos, SOC, job. The shared briefing materials were displayed. According to the file, Eiji was supposed to be at these exact coordinates, to be briefed on the mission in detail by an SOC member on site. You're 2 minutes late. Someone, a Digimon, cloaked in rags, was looking down at Eiji from atop the antenna facility on the building roof. Blank level, blank type, blank species. No data was displayed on the virtual monitor. The auto-search was blocked. The only thing that Eiji could tell was that they were about the same size as Lugamon. I'm late? It was indeed 2 minutes past the time specified in the operations files. Our leader, Tartarus, likes their members to be punctual. I ran into some trouble. Don't be a stick in the mud, Lugamon replied. Hey, Lugamon, Eiji interjected. What, Eiji? Whoa. Lugamon was taken aback a bit. At some point, unaware, Eiji was standing right next to him. Hey, I did it! Eiji looked at his hands and tried to move his limbs around. His clothes were the same as what he was wearing before. Eiji? Where the hell did you come from? Huh? Well, you know how during MindLink you control stuff on the virtual monitor just by thinking about them? So there was this HoloEyes command there, and I thought since this is the digital world, maybe I'll be able to HoloEyes myself. And it worked. So you weren't scared or thought about what could happen if something went wrong? You're pretty brave, that's the word. Lugamon appeared to have given up spending brain cells on it. Eiji extended his hand to pet Lugamon's forehead. Thump! Hey, I felt it. Don't touch my forehead! Lugamon bared his fangs. Whoa, sorry, but how am I able to touch you? I'm a hololization. Eiji was more surprised than Lugamon at the touch. Lugamon rubbed his head with his paw like a cat. A Digimon is just data when they hololize in the real world, but if you hololize in the digital world, well, data takes form here. Cool, a real hololization. Eiji accepted this answer intuitively. Just so we're clear, you shouldn't stray too far away from the Digimon you've mind-linked with. In this case, me. Hey, whatever, as long as it makes this job easy. Standing next to Lugamon at his true life-size height, Eiji turned back towards the cloaked Digimon. Anyway, I'm Codecracker Fang. I thought it was Eiji, the cloaked Digimon quipped snidely. No need to focus on the details, so what's the job? According to the information given to me by the interviewer, I'm supposed to ask for details here? I'm sure the interviewer told you that this job is a test to determine whether you, Codecracker Fang, will be allowed to join SOC. You've already been deducted 2 points for showing up late. A virtual monitor opened above the cloaked Digimon, displaying a rough map of Wall Slum. The city was basically circular, broken up into districts, as if it were a pizza cut into irregular shapes. The centre of the city was elevated, a vacant space that looked like a volcanic crater. They were in 6th Avenue, which that Choo-Choo-mon had mentioned earlier. What your job entails in surveying and mapping the area painted here. As you may already know, Warslum is undergoing a lot of redevelopment. Because information from the real world was constantly flowing into this place, not a day went by where everything was the same as it was 24 hours ago. Mapping? You want me to make a map? Sounds fun. Warslum is a very important source of income to the SOC. We always want to keep our map data up to date. The cloaked Digimon tossed down a memory card-shaped file. AG caught it. A line of code appeared on the virtual monitor in his hand. A mapping tool, huh? Lugumon understood its contents in less than a second. Nothing less from a Digimon in that respect. All you have to do is walk around the area while running the tool and it will auto-map for you. We want you to investigate 9th Avenue in this manner and within there this... Lugumon laughed. Perfect. What do you mean? I've got some business to attend to there as well. Lugumon turned his back. Lugumon, are you sure we don't need any more explanation? AG asked, hurrying after Lugumon. The cloaked Digimon gazed quietly after Duo. I pray that you will pass. For Tartarus's sake. I hope the day will come when I can call you a member of the SOC. Chapter 1, Part 13. The cloaked SOC Digimon gazed at Lugumon and Eiji Nagasumi from atop the building roof in Warslum as the duo headed to their mapping job. I wasn't told they'd be mind-linked. The cloaked Digimon spoke up suddenly to somebody who wasn't there. I hadn't been told of it. Also, didn't expect him to suddenly show up with his limits unlocked. The reply came through the voice chat. Never mind, the new kid, the cloaked Digimon said. I wonder if that dog, Lugumon, noticed that I was mind-linked too. Well, I can't be sure. The voice of the person on the other end belonged to the SOC interviewer. You asked the Demon Wolf of the Castle of 9 Wolves to map 9th Avenue, the cloaked Digimon said with some concern. For a test, isn't that way too easy? You're right, the interviewer said. This sort of test wouldn't be semi-A level for the likes of them. I'll be making a few adjustments. The interviewer was up to something. Once Lugumon reached ground level, he headed further underground. It's a shortcut, he assured AG. They reached an underground station platform. Chuck, 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 chuck. In front of a bewildered AG, a Warslum train came to a standstill. AG stared out in a daze at the rapidly changing scenery outside the train as he held onto a hanging strap. The Slum Loops Line subway. The interior of the train was very familiar. In fact, it looked similar to the Tokyo metro system that he normally used. The only difference was that the passengers on the train were not humans, but Digimon. The subway map had characters on it that AG had never seen before. He wasn't able to read any of the advertisements within the train or at the station. What is this? Digimon language? It's forbidden to cause trouble on the subway, Lugumon said, matter-of-factly. Forbidden. So, no fighting? It's a public place, so mind your manners. Saying this, Lugumon laid down, taking up 3 whole seats to himself. The Digimon around them looked annoyed, but apparently it wasn't a breach of manners. What the heck were considered good manners to Digimon anyway? AG had no idea. The subway train passed through a stop every 2 to 3 minutes. AG was fidgety and restless, partly because he couldn't read the characters on the map, which he later found out were called digicode. I've been thinking about MindLink, he said to Lugumon, as a way to distract himself. Is me being in your Digicore similar to, like, a human riding a Digimon? Am I the Choo-Choo-mon earlier who was riding the Damimon? Don't compare me to that piece of poop! It's not like that, huh? Not even close. Where do you think your real body is right now? What? Eiji's consciousness was currently within Lugumon's Digicore. Since his physical body wasn't there, it must be back at home, leaning against the wall of his loft. That's right. Your body fell asleep like that. Your consciousness doesn't return back to your body unless you break the mind link. Huh. Well, that's fine. Whatever. That's fine. By the way, Lugomon.
What is it?
Since I'm able to touch you now, can I touch your toe beans? Since Lugomon was lying on the seats on his side, his paw pads were visible. They looked plump and squishy. No, why do I have to allow what you want? Lugomon said grumpily, showing his teeth. No, huh? The dog I used to have wouldn't let me touch his toe beans either.
I'll kick you out of my Digicore if you keep talking rubbish like that. Also, from what I'm hearing in your stories about that dog of yours, he probably didn't think of you as his master. He looked down on you, for sure.
What? A surge of passengers got off and got on at the next station. Digimon who boarded the train reacted in surprise when they saw Eiji. Hey, Lugomon. I feel like all of the Digimon are staring at me.
Well, it's rare to see a human here.
Oh, so this is like if a Digimon was hololized and riding a train in the real world. No wonder he was attracting all the attention. Since it didn't appear likely that he would be harmed, Eiji took the opportunity to get a closer look at his surroundings. The Digimon in the passenger compartment seemed to mostly consist of one single type. Almost all of the Digimon here have corrupted data, Eiji observed. They look injured.
Most of Wall Slum's inhabitants are Digimon that were originally used by humans,
Lugomon said, matter-of-factly. What? Now that he mentioned it, Eiji could see that a majority of the crowd were cyborg types or machine types, which were favoured by codecrackers.
They're all Digimon that were used by humans and discarded for some reason or another, Lugomon said. They screwed up on the job, or were entrusted with the security of some company's servers and got destroyed from attack or something.
Discarded Digimon? Eiji was astonished. It was true that codecrackers used and abandoned Digimon regularly. Although it was not generally known to the public, governments, military, megatech companies, and other important servers and data centers that were all using Digimon in their security. Digimon got used there on the daily. No matter how carefully tools are treated, they eventually break. When they fail, they fail. That was how Eiji had felt about it before now.
Normally, those Digimon die a dog's death and revert back into Digi-eggs, Lugomon said. But as they survived by slurping up the scrap data that drifted along the outer security wall, they built up houses, villages, and towns. As long as they can find their way to this place, Digimon who are abandoned by humans can survive. The stray Digimon that gathered together here are what become of this city. The slum. A slum known as War Slum. I thought humans were pretty tough, but Digimon are strong too, Eiji said, impressed by the very life force of the Digimon. This trash heap of a slum is the last paradise for stray Digimon. Some of them may have gotten fed up with humans and drifted away on their own. Others may have wandered here due to some kind of trouble in the digital world beyond the wall. Nowadays, it's not unusual to find Digimon who were born and raised in the slum. Roar! The subway shot out above ground. The sound of wheels treading along rails thundered. The red polluted surface of the river beneath the truss bridge was spread out into the distance. Eiji learned from Lugomon that the slum was full of Digimon like Chumon, who were everywhere. The mutant Digimon, Damimon, and the other Digimon who had adopted and evolved to live happily in an environment polluted with garbage data. Do the Digimon here not get along with each other? Chumon and Chumon had been fighting over food. The rule of no fighting allowed in the subway meant, when you flipped it, that there was plenty of fighting allowed everywhere else. Basically, everyone is poor here. And that's the reason for it all, Lugomon said. Those in the slum can't consistently feed themselves, so fighting is a daily occurrence. There are turf wars, and Digimon in each neighborhood who act as its boss. Only in the subway and in the center of the slum, Avenue Zero, is there an unspoken non-combatant agreement. The center of the slum? That must be the blank area on the map that the cloaked Digimon had shown them earlier. Eiji looked out the window. Upstream of the river was a mountain peak at the center of War Slum, made hazy by static. I can't see it very well. What kind of place is it? It has the gate that leads to the inside security well. The wall gate, Lugumon responded. Inside the security wall? You mean the deep digital world? This wall slum was, without any doubt, a part of the digital world, but the deep part of it was protected by the wall contained the original shape of the digital world. It would be a known digital world for you humans. The wall gate controls the flow of data into the digital world and prevents unauthorized entry. The train crossed the river and slid back underground. The subway cars went dark for a moment, then flickered, and then the lights came back on. Eiji thought a little bit. The wall gate prevents code crackers, us humans, from getting in? That's right. It's not only humans, Lugumon said. It also includes Digimon who have been used by code crackers and hackers. That's all of the Digimon in the wall slum. Huh? All of the Digimon here? None of the Digimon on the subway were able to return to the digital world. The wall slum has perpetually been affected by real-world data via the network, Lugumon said. Once a Digimon is contaminated by real-world data, it can never return to the digital world. They lose the ability to pass through the gate. On whose authority? The digital world system, which is all I can really say about that. To put it in human terms, our god, so to speak. For the Digimon of Wall Slum, inside the wall is their long-lost home. Lugumon, do you know what's on the other side of the wall? We're getting off here. Lugumon got up from his seat. Eiji had no idea what route they'd taken, but he heard the announcement say, "Next stop, 9th Avenue, 9th Avenue." Eiji's mind switched over into work mode. First, he had to fulfill Rusenji's request and pass the SOC entrance exam. So, we're mapping 9th Avenue, Eiji said. I wonder what kind of place that is. Find out when you get there. You sure seem to know a lot about Wall Slum, Lugumon. Have you lived here before? Lugumon had been stored from the beginning as his child-level stage in the Digimon Linker. Eiji hadn't bothered to ask where Lugumon had been and what he'd done before then. It had never occurred to him that Digimon could have a past. I don't remember. The sudden confession confused Eiji. What? My memory is hazy from one point to another. I know that I grew up here in Wall Slum, but I only remember when I was just a brat at child level. Everything else is just vague. Lugumon said that he knew about the digital world and the Wall Slum, but he couldn't remember anything about himself. He had no idea who he was here. Is it amnesia? Eiji asked. Seemed kinda half-assed, though. Whenever I try to remember, it's like there's a haze around my digicore. Like fog settling down the memories. Come to think of it, that Shumon and the others said something of interest, Eiji said. They seemed to know about you. Spoke like they revered you. Calling you the Demon Wolf and boss and whatnot. After coming to Wall Slum with you and listening to them, I feel as if my memories are returning little by little, Lugumon said. That's why we might need to find out more when we get there. I get the feeling that there's something in 9th Avenue, something very important to me. Chapter 1, Part 14. Wall Slum's 9th Avenue. When Eiji went up the stairs out of the subway exit and stood agape at his surroundings, he wanted to turn back around. What is this? Another country? A real slum? Eiji asked. This is crazy! I'll lose my life here. The air was dank with soot. The abandoned building that we'd seen earlier was one thing, but this place, it was something else. If this place was listed in a tourist book, Eiji was sure that it would say things like, has the highest crime rate on the planet, or don't go anywhere near here. What do you call this kind of place? Kowloon City? Eiji asked. Kabukicho of the Showa era? He looked up the city block from down below the densely packed buildings built on illegal construction. A place that was like Kowloon City, a slum that had once existed in Hong Kong before the reversion to China, built by illegal immigrants on land that had been ungoverned by the government. Or like Kabukicho. There we are. I know that word. I've been there, but I, for some reason, could not for the life of me to say it just then. Anyway, or like Kabukicho, the district of Shinjuku in the Showa era, a city that had never slept and was all right,
with the neon signs for restaurants, brothels, hotels, and other establishments. A red light district.
Warslum is the boundary between the real world and the digital world, Lugomon explained. Real information is always flowing in through the network, so it's constantly changing. Because of that, everything here changes from one day to the next.
Lugomon,
What?
would you happen to be really intelligent? Eiji said, his eyes shining.
Digimon are intelligent.
Maybe I'll have you help me with the hard stuff from now on, Eiji said.
Can I call you senpai? Quit it.
But I love you, Lugomon. You're so reliable. If Eiji had a tail, he'd be wagging it right now.
This is exactly why your dog looked down on you.
Let's hurry up and get to work. With Lugomon verbally whipping him back into gear, Eiji launched the tool on his virtual monitor. He initiated the mapping. Now all that he had to do was fill in the map by walking around. Mapping the red light district, huh? Eiji was so overwhelmed by the visual absurdity of 9th Avenue that if he tried to describe it in words, he would lose his mind. There were no straight streets. Alleyways were nothing more than gaps between buildings. The width and direction of the streets were a mess, and there was clearly no urban planning. There were no restrictions on the building coverage ratio, oblique restrictions, earthquake resistance standards, or any other legal regulations based on Building Standards Act. To add insult to injury, not even architect mechanics seemed to exist here. If one were to bring in a realistic human sensibility to the city that ignored all safety and construction standards, they would feel uneasy just by being here, and would forever walk around thinking of the inevitable collapse that was sure to happen 2 seconds later. Like, for instance, if a sign hanging from a single screw fell, the steel frame over there would snap, and all the buildings around it would collapse like dominoes. Eiji checked on the map as he walked around. Looks like there are Digimon around here. Hiding, though. He could feel eyes watching him from all over the alley.
9th Avenue is the worst neighborhood in Warslum, Lugomon said. If outsiders walked through it, they'd be stripped of their clothes within 50 meters and left for dead within 100.
Scary.
Our destination is the heart of 9th Avenue, the Castle of 9 Wolves.
Eiji and Lugomon continued their work. It was a bit of a letdown in the end, but they were able to proceed with mapping without hassle. There were no Digimon to be seen anywhere. It was as if they were in the middle of nowhere, although Lugomon insisted that he could sense them close by. A dead-end street. There was a tiled roof building in a small plaza surrounded by overhanging, ramshackle buildings. It looked more like an imperial house in Chinatown than a castle. Is that the Castle of 9 Wolves? We need to map that, and what's ahead of it. Eiji walked up to the mausoleum. Lugomon stopped. What's wrong, Lugomon? Eiji had gone ahead of him, but he couldn't go too far as he was hololized.
This is my home, or it was.
Do you remember something?
It has a faint smell. Markings I left behind. But it's me and not me. It's much, much stronger.
Maybe it could be... Eiji had an idea. The evolved version of you?
Something's coming.
Lugomon turned his nose to the narrow strip of sky between the buildings. Brap, 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 brap. It was a thunderous roar. Winds picked up. The sound seemed to hit the ground and blew away the surrounding garbage data. Eiji was forced to his knees. Lugomon dug in his claws. What is it? Eiji cried. What's coming? A winged monstrosity cast a shadow over the castle of the 9 wolves. Eiji had shut his eyes to protect them from the billowy dust, but now he held up a hand over his eyes and squinted up at the sky. Is that a bird? A dragon?
No, neither, that's...
The thing had engines on both wings. It was a machine-type Digimon based on a tilt-rotor aircraft that was capable of vertical takeoff and landing. Cargo Dramon. Perfect level. Machine type. Virus species. On its fuselage were the word police in intimidating letters. It's the Digi-Police! Eiji shouted.
The police? What are they doing in Warslum?
Digimon affiliated with the Digi-Police descended off the hovering Cargo Dramon from a rope. They were Command Dramon. The heliborne squad spread out, quickly securing the base. An alert rang. At the sound, Eiji looked at his map on the virtual monitor. Markers indicating Command Dramon appeared in the vicinity of the Castle of 9 Wolves. The castle was surrounded. They're demanding that we open up voice chat on the Grimm channel? AG cried out. He had received a warning notification from the police in the operation channel. Grimm was not a service that belonged to any particular company. So if you didn't comply with police demands, that wouldn't be an immediate criminal act by itself. However, it would mean that you have taken a defiant attitude toward a state power.
What do we do? Lugomon asked.
It doesn't matter one way or another. The interviewer is the only one with administrative powers for this operation channel. AG didn't have the authorization to open it.
The hell? Don't ignore me, you shitty code cracker!
Boom! A shrill voice came from Cargodramon above. The voice was loud and shrieked like a cartoon character. It rang directly through AG's middling sense of hearing. Chapter 1, Part 15. In the wall slums 9th Avenue, the police issued Cargodramon that appeared in the skies above the Castle of 9 Wolves let out a warning.
We got tipped off by patrols. You're no match for us, crappy code cracker. This is the police department. We are the Digi-Police that strikes fear in the hearts of all.
The Digi-Police. It was as AG had suspected. The Digi-Police was scarier to code crackers than the thought of demons. When it came to cyber-terrorism and Digimon crimes, there was no better counter-Digimon force in Japan. Oh wow, it's my first time seeing them! AG was immediately excited. This is so cool! Lugomon, get a picture of the Cargodramon!
My eyes are not cameras!
Lugomon snarled as he glared at the Cargodramon. Its powerful built-in sensors were pointed directly at Lugomon. ML, mind-linked, active. The duo was being probed. The sensors fulfilled an aspect of police questioning by scanning what they were carrying.
You're one of those degenerate criminals, the SOC, aren't ya? And a mind linker on top of that. That tip-off we got wasn't an exaggeration.
Tip-off? Exaggeration? AG had no idea what the voice was talking about. You even hololized yourself for me.
Are you really that dumb or as cocky as you look? Hey, I want answers out of yous. You ding-dong cracker and five-head Digimon.
Ding-dong?
Five-head?
AG and Lugomon looked at each other. Apparently, the nickname Five-Head was because the voice was making fun of the large headpiece on Lugomon's forehead.
Get your ass over here.
The voice trailed off and corrected herself.
You're coming back with us to the station.
That's optional, right? AG said, innocently. I'm in the middle of work right now, so... He began to walk away.
Oh, looking down on me, are ya? She hissed. Hit him with the M16 assassin! Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta!
There was crossfire. At the call of the woman and the phony Edo dialect, who seemed to be their commander, the Commandramon squads that had split up into left and right took aim. Hey, they're shooting at us! AG fell to the ground, covering his head. Rays of fire crossed above his head. Those were warning shots. Says you! AG shouted back at the Digi-Police commander. In what world was firing assault rifles at full power considered a warning shot to civilians? Someone climbed down from the Cargodramon on a rope. A female officer? AG breathed a sigh of relief. She too appeared to be hololized, but the voice of the police commander that he had been speaking to apparently belonged to her. The woman had shoulder-length bobbed hair that was black and inner green streaks. She had on Gyaru makeup and was wearing a cap, high boots, and a loose-fitting jacket. It was a rather unique look for a police officer. Oh, you're kind of cute. That was AG's first impression of her. I'm tired of hearing that. And a lot of self-esteem, too. She was the type that most guys, not just AG, would be thrown off by.
So, what you working on, SOZ code cracker? Poaching digi eggs? I'll drag you off red-handed if that's the case.
Although she looked cute, she had the mouth of a sailor and a different personality. At least she was clearly dedicated to her work.
That Digi-Police lady means real business,
Lugomon said from his lowered stance. He, too, had been wary of the Commandramon's shooting. Hey, Lugomon, what happens if we get shot? Yeah, why don't you find out? What? Yeah! AG screamed. The Vulcan cannon suspended from Cargodramon's fuselage dug holes into the dirt with its 30mm rounds right in front of the cowering AG's eyes. The smell of gun smoke lingered in the air. Were they breaking up the soil to plant new vegetation or something, damn it?
Like I've said many times before, Lugumon said, matter-of-factly. In the digital world, data has substance. Ugh, I understand now. If he got hit by a bullet, it would hurt like a normal one and he'd die. AG's soul would break into pieces. That's what he felt would happen. Don't call me lady. Do you want to die during a mind link? The female officer was fuming. What a short fuse, AG exclaimed. I should have brought Mechanorimon with me, she continued, with grit teeth. I'd have burned you to death in an instant. Lucky for you, it's under maintenance. Hey, you shit codecracker, last warning here. You want to know what I was doing here? AG raised his voice. I was walking. I was mapping the area while walking. I wanted to know about the digital worlds, for science? While he made it sound nice, he wasn't exactly lying. You what? Cargodramon. They carry no signs of Digi-Egg or captured Digimon Deputy Squad Leader, Cargomon reported. In other words, it appears that they were indeed taking a stroll through the Warslum, just as they claimed. The loud lady that was their Deputy Squad Leader was clearly disappointed. Although the SOC were a dangerous codecracker group, that alone didn't qualify for an arrest. Minor faults weren't a warrant for prosecution. This is Warslum's 9th Avenue, and they're at the Castle of 9 Wolves. It's the 9th Avenue of Hell, she shrieked. Even we, the Digipolice, can't step in here without the proper equipment. It's a den of rogues. You're plenty suspicious if you's out here taking a stroll in this dangerous place. It's no use. This lady is beyond high-strung. AG gave up on holding a conversation. He checked the map on his virtual monitor that he held in his hand. There were the Commandramon too, and the Cargodramon in the air. There's others here too? There's something else aboard the Cargodramon. The Digipolice had reinforcements. There wasn't going to be an end to this. Let's get out of here, Lugumon. Lugumon? When AG looked up, the Digimon was already gone. Spiral bite! Sharp fangs pierced body armor. 1, then 2 markers disappeared off the map. The Commandramon's bulletproof armor was ripped apart like cardboard, and they were knocked away one after the other. Huh? AG was taken aback. It had all happened so fast. Lugumon had fought back, defeating them with only his sharp claws and teeth. Lugumon stood before the mausoleum of the Castle of 9 Woods. This is my home, he howled as to emphasize the fact. This is an obstruction of justice, why you... What kind of monster are you anyway? Is this some kind of trap? The Deputy Squad Leader's voice turned in on itself. The tip-off that she had received was a trap, from the way things had turned out. It wasn't wrong of her to think so. But it was AG who was even more astonished. He took out the 2 fully equipped Commandramon in an instant. Lugumon, you're super strong. But wait, don't do that. You can't mess with the police. AG was back to holding his head in his knees again. Why not? Why shouldn't have? Lugumon keened and tilted his head to the side in a dog-like gesture. The rest of the Commandramon tried to re-encircle Lugumon from a distance while retrieving their fallen comrades. If you mess with the police, you'll be taken away from me. We'll be arrested. There's no such law in the digital world. The only rule in Warslum is eat or be eaten. What? AG, with his head still in his hands, connected to Grim in a last desperate attempt. He wanted to inform the SOC interviewer of what was going on. Hey, the interviewer guy momentarily left his seat. What a horrible person. How dare yous treat my subordinates like that? The Hololine's Deputy Squad Leader rolled up her sleeves. Is that a Digimon linker? AG noticed. She was wearing on her wrist a watch with the smartwatch-type dock. It had police colours, so the colouring was different, but it looked the same as the one that AG was wearing. You'll pay for underestimating me! Police lights suddenly came on, rotating their warning lights around her. What the heck is happening now? AG cried. Holization is way too convenient. That lady is mind linked too. Lugumon returned to AG's side and braced himself. Abaddon Electronics received orders from the police on a variety of electronic equipment. What's more, Rusenji was an advisor to the Metropolitan Police Department. You're kidding me! Her Digimon parter is over there! Lugumon looked up at the Cargodramon. Boom! The Cargodramon moved in the sky above. It changed the angle of its rotors and raised its nose slightly to open the large hatch at its rear. Something. The Digimon that had been waiting in the cabin peeked out. Smack, slap, smack, smack. What the hell is that? A chill ran down Eiji's spine. With hideous writhing, the Digimon pushed itself out of the hatch and landed on the ground with a heavy thud. Noom! It was a huge slug. Ah, it's Numamon! Eiji screamed in terror. Chapter 1, Part 16. Numamon. Adult level, mollusk type, virus species. The Hololai's deputy squad leader rode on top of Numamon's back. The Numamon was about the size of a small truck. They appeared to act as a police vehicle because a police siren rested on top of their head. "You're under arrest, both of yous! You got me real angry now! Who the hell do you think I am? I'm Deputy Squad Leader of the Metropolitan Police's Community Safety Department's Cybercrime Division's Digimon Crime Response Police Team Investigation Section 11, Satsuki Tamahime, you bastards!" "That's one hell of a long title," Eiji called out. Code crackers normally refer to them as the Digipolice, but this was Eiji's first time hearing it referred specifically as Investigation Section 11. "Oh shit, my affiliation, I wasn't supposed to say that." Satsuki covered her mouth with both hands. "Hey, Fivehead and Ding Dong, you didn't hear that." "I don't give a crap," Eiji called out. "And why do you keep calling me Fivehead?" Lugumon grimaced, nudging at the interface on his forehead with one paw. "Well, I'm not wrong, am I, you mangy mutt?" The deputy squad leader, Satsuki, refused to let up. "A wannabe cop like you has no business insulting me," Lugumon grumbled. "Maybe if I make you cry. I like this interface on my forehead, and I'm not about to let you off easily for making fun of it. Enough talking, Fivehead. On my command, Commandramon, fire the M16. "What kanji do you use for your name, Satsuki?" Eiji tried to calm things down a bit. "Huh? It's the Tama from Shogi and the Hime from Princess. And you write Satsuki with the kanji for thread, little, and the moon. And why am I telling you this? It's personal information." She was really on edge. Teasing her brought out funny reactions, and Eiji feared that he'd get addicted to doing it. "My name is Eiji Nagasumi." "I didn't ask." Satsuki made a gesture with her hand as if to ward off a persistent playboy trying to hit on her. "Wait, scratch that. I'm Codecracker Fang. Forget what I said, Satsuki-chan." "No, you just saved me the trouble of IDing you, Eiji Nagasumi. I've established you as an elite A or higher codecracker capable of mind linking." Satsuki pointed at Eiji threateningly. "All right, I got Satsuki-chan's seal of approval. Lugumon, did you hear that? I'm an elite codecracker." Level A codecrackers are automatically placed on the Metropolitan Police Department's blacklist. Your days of living a normal life are over for you, sociopath. You're about to end up on the other side of the fence. "No!" the slug cried out. "Don't be scared just because the enemy's an adult level," Lugumon said, readying himself for battle. "I get like a physical reaction against sliming things," Eiji said queasingly, "like grated yams or okra or natto. Blip, 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 blip." Numamon shot something out of their body, like a rapid-fire cannon. "Spineless guys like you who can't eat natto might as well eat Digimon food," Satsuki instigated. "That's not food, that's poop." Eiji and Lugumon dodges Numamon's attack in the nick of the time. "What a disgusting attack," Lugumon said, repulsed. "This is why Digimon who look like they're from landfills of Fifth Avenue have zero taste. They're a perfect match for that loudmouth woman, though." Lugumon, she can hear you, you know. You seem to have a talent of pissing off women." Eiji was sweating bullets, but the damage had already been done. "Mangy five-head mutt! You can insult me all you want, but I won't let you talk about my Numamon like that." That was what incited her anger further. Numamon fired something huge at the duo. Lugumon took a small jump to get out of the way, but the projectile bounced off the wall and hit Eiji. "Oh, sorry, forgot you were there." "Help me, Lugumon!" Eiji cried pathetically. He was completely covered in poop. "It was only a ricochet. Besides, it's good luck." "Haha, very funny. Ugh, getting covered in manure isn't something you even see in comedy manga these days. I should never have mind-linked."
AG started crying. It was because he was mind-linked that he could smell and feel Numamon's poop as real poop. His will to flight plummeted. Kya, pathetic. Serves you right for making fun of my beautiful Numamon. Satsuki laughed loudly atop her Numamon. Satsuki-chan, what do you even like about Numamon exactly? AG asked as he wiped the poop off himself. Their shine, their slimeliness, and their hidden ferocity. It's so charming. I'm not going to even try to pronounce this, so I'm really sorry. It's a scientific word. I'm bad at that. Granulimax fusonius. I sounded like I was casting a spell on Harry Potter just then. It's a slug in the real world, but they prey on other slugs and snails. They gulp him right down. It's so thrilling. I'll look that up later. Do you want to see? Satsuki opened up a virtual monitor above her head and went on a video site. Not here, please. Silence. Satsuki was apparently the type to keep going on and ignore the atmosphere of the room when she began talking about something she liked. Hey, AG, wait, Fang, was it? Lugamon carefully corrected himself. Forget it. After all that happened, I'm so done, AG said moodily. Ah, good grief. Lugamon clicked his tongue. We're mind-linked. So, while it is a huge pain in my ass as you are, you and I are the only one mind and body right now. Oh, that's right. No matter how much of a first-class code cracker I've become, I can't let myself get arrested while you're here. Cut off your why can't I talk? It's that scientific word. It has broken me. My apologies, dear listener. Cut off your holization and return to me. But I'm covered in poop. After you've cleaned it off. AG cut off the holization as Lugamon has directed. His form disappeared, only the poop remained, splattering to the floor from where he stood. AG was once again back in Lugamon's digicore. His viewpoint merged with that of Lugamon. AG's consciousness connected to the heads-up virtual monitor. He activated his tools and set the AI mode to battle. Commandramon! Satsuki cried. Fire! DCD bomb! The Commandramon took the initiative, tossing bombs all over the place. Lugamon dug all 4 feet into the ground before leaping up and running vertically across the walls of the illegally constructed buildings surrounding the plaza, dodging the explosions. Howling fire! A wall of flames divided the Commandramon in 2, disrupting them. Tch! An indistinguishable magic flame? Satsuki grimaced. It's only as strong as a bonfire, but still a pain in the ass. Satsuki's Numamon advanced forward, unafraid of the flames. That damn slug undaunted my flames, Lugamon growled. The slug's slimy mucus seemed to ward off the flames to a certain extent. Lugamon's fire has no effect, AG cried in disappointment. It's poop, but it's adult-level poop. Plus, there's Commandramon here too. If I don't give it its all I've got, we're toast, Lugamon said, the tone of his voice seeming to insinuate that he was testing AG. Adult level? Give it your all. Are you talking about evolution? Yes, AG, evolution, Lugamon called out. Can we really do that? Here? Now? Did you think lifting the functions of the Digimon linker were just for show? I've gotten pretty used to mind linking with you too, but more than that, I'm losing control of myself. The blue wolf's fur stood up and he bared his fangs. Lugamon! Even AG's consciousness could feel the chill of goosebumps. Ever since we arrived in Warslum, ever since we arrived at the Castle of Nine Wolves, something inside me, some kind of power has been trying to burst out. As if there was something that wasn't him inside of him. I want to evolve so much that I'm suffocating. This power is too great for a child level's body to handle. With Lugamon's cry, an alert flashed onto the virtual monitor. Evolution. AG's tool informed him that a mutation was occurring in Lugamon's body. Evolution. Okay, I'll evolve with you, Lugamon, and become the ultimate code cracker. I can't afford to stumble and fail here. I'll be a winner in the digital world. AG's heart stirred with morale. There was no need for him to hold back. He could do it. In the network, there was nothing he couldn't do. It prompted a Digimon to grow explosively. Damn Fivehead, you're up to something, aren't ya? Well, get him once and for all.
Give them an extra-large serving, Numamon, Satsuki ordered dangerously. Numamon hunkered down right there, straining. Lugamon, evolve! A flash. With the glow of evolution, Lugamon's stats displaying on Eiji's virtual monitor shot through the roof all at once. Warning, warning, target is evolving! The Commandramon up above warned aloud. Evolving, gah! A swirling flame appeared over Satsuki's head. There was a shockwave, throwing the Commandramon in disorder. Satsuki was blown off Numamon's back. Lugarmon, adult level, dark beast type, virus species. Chapter 1, Part 17. More supple, more powerful, more shrewd. Such was the form that he changed into, a result of seeking power only for the sake of hunting and eating his prey. The fearsome wolf that was said to dwell in Wall Slum's 9th Avenue. Lugarmon? No way. This Digimon is... Satsuki hissed from her fallen position on the ground. A blue wolf, far more massive in size than he was before, and clad in magical flames, landed on the tiled roof of the Castle of Nine Wolves mausoleum. An enormous amount of energy could be observed. The energy overflowing from within this adult-level Digimon erupted out in the form of splitting flames from his mouth. That's right. I am Lugamon, but also Lugarmon? Eiji's Digimon recalled the memories of the magic flame that had been burning just a few moments ago. Lugamon, I mean Lugarmon? Eiji spoke up from inside him. Did your memories come back? The demon wolf of the Castle of the Nine Wolves. I've heard of him before. It's supposed to describe the Digimon boss that inhabited this place. Satsuki gritted her teeth. Magic and fire converged within Lugarmon's mouth. A flash. Howling burner! He shot out a incandescent flame. No amount of mucus could defend against it. Numamon took a direct hit, causing them to wriggle and thrash about. Ah! Satsuki screamed. Numamon! My precious Numamon! When a partner's Digimon is damaged so severely that it reaches their Digicore, that damage affects the mental state data of the mind-linked human as well. The human can feel the pain of the damage to the Digimon, creating stress signals to their consciousness. Numamon kept burning within the inextinguishable fire. The power of this flame was far greater than the one before it. If the flames of the child level were like a bonfire, then this flame was a colossal burner that could incinerate steel. Numamon is heavily damaged. There's orders to retreat. Recover the wounded. The members of the Digipolice acted immediately upon seeing their fallen commander. The wind pressure from Cargodramon's rotors extinguished the flames consuming Numamon, and after they recovered their wounded into the cargo area, the Digipolice, with the rest of the Commandramon squadron, retreated. On board the Cargodramon. How dare they do this to my Numamon? Satsuki grit her teeth in fury as she tended to her badly burned Numamon. Deputy Squad Leader, warning thresholds had exceeded. You must hurry and deactivate the mind link. No. The hololive Satsuki brushed off her subordinates' concerns in their chat room. But look what they did to my Numamon. Next time I'll make the insolent codecracker pay. The Cargodramon returned its tilt rotor engines to a horizontal position and extended through the net ocean at full speed. Satsuki bellowed as she gazed down at Wall Slum's 9th Avenue below. Codecracker Eiji, your mind will be arrested. After watching the retreating Cargodramon disappear beyond the net ocean, Eiji hololized once more and stood beside his Digimon, Lugarmon. His appearance remained largely that of a wolf, while the colour of his fur gave off the impression of a larger Lugarmon. What was different, though, was that the hairs on his body had grown longer, giving him a more demonic appearance. The biggest difference of all was his size. Lugarmon was about as big as a rhinoceros. The interface on his forehead remained there, unchanged. As Lugarmon stood on the tiled roof of the mausoleum, he looked up at the narrow slit of sky above the Castle of Nine Wolves. After I evolved to adults, after I evolved back, I finally remembered something. The 9th Avenue wall slum is where I rule. The demon wolf of the Castle of Nine Wolves, right? So you're the boss here. Impressive, AG complimented. I don't know. I mean, being this way now must mean that I've lost my position as a boss, right? Maybe he'd lost his authority to someone else, or maybe he just left. He couldn't remember. You've got a very strange kind of amnesia, once you only remember more each time you evolve. AG commented. Then again, my knowledge of amnesia comes from comic books and movies. Well, whatever, Lugomon shrugged. I'll get it all back, my power, my memories, and all of my evolutions. Lugomon seemed to have a hunch that he could evolve further. The smouldering magic flames finally died out and silence returned once more to 9th Avenue. A rustle. Something appeared from within an alley. It was a Digimon, not just one or two, crowds of wall slum residents, in numbers that made one wonder where they had managed to hide. They emerged to gather in the castle's plaza. Huh? What's going on? In wall slum, it was either kill or be killed. Were all of these Digimon planning to attack them next? Lugomon, however, calmly greeted the Digimon that were gathered in the plaza. Lugomon! A voice cheered. The cheers soon became the voices of dozens of hundreds of Digimon echoing through the Castle of Nine Wolves. Lugomon! 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 The Digimon gathered at the Castle of Nine Wolves celebrated the return of their boss. The unknown SOC Digimon, hidden under rags, watched their celebration secretly from atop the building roofs of the red light district. The demon wolf of the Castle of Nine Wolves has returned, the cloaked Digimon said. An inspiring sight, isn't it? Someone murmured in the voice chat. It was the SOC interviewer. That was a really nasty thing you did, tipping off the fuzz just to test them. The Digipolice's deputy squad leader wasn't even a match for him, the interviewer said. I don't think they'd send a mind linker of their own, but their results were what I expected. Lugomon, the prototype Digimon. It's just what I've been looking for. What about the Codecracker kid? I'm reserving judgment for now. But it looks like he completed the mapping job. They had already received the mapping tools data hours ago. He's passed the SOC entrance exam, of course, the interviewer said dismissively. I want as many Codecrackers with the ability to mind link as I can possibly get. Do you think he can guide him? That kid, Eiji Nagasumi, I mean, do you think he can take his Digimon partner to deeper depths? He'll have to. It's a place we've been promised. After all, wouldn't you agree, Doremon? Whoosh! The ragged cloth fell away just then, pulled by a strong wind. Doremon, child level, beast type, data species. He had a bushy tail. The Digimon that emerged from beneath the rags was plain in colour and looked like a squirrel at first glance. However, he had the data of dragon, the mythological beast that was told about in stories passed down through generations, stored in his Digicore. The only evidence of that were the small dragon wings sprouting from his back. The same interface as Lugomon gleamed on Doremon's forehead. Chapter 1, Part 18. Are Digimon living creatures or computer programs? There was no legal definition for them, at least in human society. Legislation regarding Digimon was undeveloped due to the digital world being undefined. Was it legal to capture Digimon in the digital world? Was it possible for someone to be punished for possession of a Digimon? If, in fact, it was punishable, would the punishment be based on existing laws such as Act on Prohibition of Unauthorized Computer Access, the Subversive Activities Prevention Act, or on laws relating to animal and environmental protection? Responses would also differ between countries. But crimes that use Digimon were definitely happening, at least in Japan anyway. A realistic response to them was to classify Digimon crimes perpetrated by Codecrackers as subversive acts and to set up a special unit within the police to stop them. That became the Metropolitan Police's Community Safety Department's Cybercrime Division's Digimon Crime Response,
Police Team Investigation Section 11, otherwise known as the Digimon Crime Response Police Team, or even shorter, the Digipolice. They were a secret organisation created to respond to Digimon crimes, a cybercrime police unit that monitored and investigated all code crackers. Lugamon. Section 11 squad leader Shu Yulin murmured as she scrolled through the report on her desk monitor. She wore a very short bob hairstyle that was cropped on the sides and back, and minimal makeup. Her sharp looks and flawless work record earned her the nickname as the Demon Squad Leader. While her name and roots were of Chinese origin, she was a Japanese citizen. Yes, Squad Leader! This is the Digimon that was owned by the SOC cracker that we encountered today at the Digital World's outer wall slum in 9th Avenue, Deputy Squad Leader Satsuki Tamahime reported smartly to her boss. Section 11 was really the size of a normal police department, but it took on the appearance of a smaller organisation in order to conceal its existence from both the public eye and its internal department. He drove away the Commandramon squadron, eh? His reaction speed and power are unparalleled for a child level. We've got a dangerous codecracker on our hands. Yulin analysed the data from the report. Those 5-head bastards even evolved into Lugamon and sent my Numon to the infirmary. The next time I see him, I'm putting them in handcuffs. A level A codecracker with the ability to mind link. I didn't see his name on the list of SOC executives that we've obtained. Eiji Nagasumi. I'm amazed that you managed to get his real name so quickly, Satsuki. Well, he said it. He gave it to me himself. Huh. Yulin slumped back on her desk a bit. Like I said, this Eiji kid gave me his full name. You'd think it would be his alias or a codecracker name that he goes by, right? But it appears to be his real name. I can't tell if that guy's really smart or really stupid, Yulin murmured. Although, to be fair, Yulin's second-in-command, Deputy Squad Leader Satsuki, had also made public both her full name and her undisclosed affiliation to Section 11 to a codecracker. My guess is that he's a skillful moron, Satsuki said. That was my first impression of him anyway. Satsuki was infuriated. That so-called skillful moron had sent her Numon to the infirmary. The police force was a tight-knit organisation. Whenever a single police officer's life is in danger, the entire organisation does everything in its power to catch the culprit. This was a means to settle the matter, wrap things up and tie them up with a bow. If they didn't end things completely, the entire police force would lose face, leading to further harm in the future. Pests who struck out against the police had to be stomped out of existence. Morons are one thing, but you've crossed the K-line once again, Satsuki. How many times has that been this year now? Sorry. Satsuki looked dejected. I know you don't want to hear this, but mind linking has a time limit for a reason. If you cross the K-line, the warning threshold, and then into the L-line, the connection limit, your mental data will end up glued to your digicore, and only your consciousness will be left behind in the digital world. That'll have a huge impact on the department's audit. It could kill you. I, for one, Satsuki, do not want to lose my men. Not a single one of them. Please accept my apologies. I'll be more careful. I don't wish to be DMIA either. DMIA, Digital Missing in Action. This term referred to people who went missing or fell unconscious during their activities in the digital world. The warning threshold determined by the Digipolice was like a yellow card or the K-point in ski jumping. If a mind linker continued beyond the warning threshold of the K-line, their consciousness would eventually reach its limits. The L-line was the limit line. This was the red card, the L-point. At worst, reaching this point would force one to exit life as they had a head-on collision with a concrete wall. DMIA was a police term for someone who'd exceeded the mind link's time limit and whose consciousness could no longer return to the real world. Yulin opened Eiji Nagasumi's file. It contained everything from his family registry, a brief synopsis of his background to the latest video footage of him captured by surveillance cameras on street corners.
Isn't that DDL?
Satsuki spoke up. The surveillance video was taken in front of a facility adjacent to Tokyo Denyo University.
He isn't a Denyo student, I thought, Yulin asked.
It was, after all, Japan's top-ranking university for science. A majority of its students could be potential hackers or code crackers.
Yeah, he isn't. He's currently a freelancer.
Zoom here, Yulin instructed. The video paused and the camera zoomed in on Eiji's left arm when he emerged from the DDL building. Analysis. The image, grainy from the zoom, was reconstructed into a clearer visual through AI processing. A Digimon linker. That would be the latest Digimon dock model made by Aberdeen Electronics. Yulin's Digimon spoke in a dramatic tones of an old-fashioned samurai. Rudimon, child level, beast type, vaccine species. His hololized figure at Yulin's side looked like an ancient armored dragon. He wore a Japanese-style helmet and was the size of a large dog, which was about the common size for a child level. Since he spoke, that meant that Rudimon was also already mind-linked with a human.
Lugamon and the latest Digimon linker,
Yulin pondered.
They look awfully similar, don't they, squad leader?
The forehead on your Rudimon and the forehead of this dog, Lugamon. The exact same interface was also on Rudimon's helmet. From a tower apartment overlooking the Denrin district at night. His one-bedroom apartment was on the middle floor. His mentor/boss owned the room which he rented while attending the university here in a study abroad program. He exited the shower room, dried his hair roughly with a towel, and put on a bathrobe. He'd kept on his wrist his smartwatch, the Digimon linker. When he walked into the living room, there was a Digimon there. The Digimon was hololized. There is no light on in this room, but the Digimon himself glowed with tiny lightning bolts flashing over him, which lent a faint light to the room itself.
The SOC is up to something,
the Digimon cried. Pulsemon, the lightning bolt Digimon that had a run-in with the Digipolice's Section 11 deputy squad leader at Wallslum's last coast the other day. A code cracker? Is this a sign that SOC is about to start their large-scale operation? He took a bottle of mineral water out of the refrigerator. Most of his meals were either taken at restaurants or delivered, so there was no food or even snacks inside.
Yeah, looks like the SOC's trying to increase their numbers, Leon.
Elaborate, Pulsemon. Pulsemon spun in the air and displayed data on a large monitor popped on the wall. Leon used the hololized Digimon as a smart speaker, an AI assistant. Needless to say, Pulsemon and he, Leon Alexander, were mind-linked. There was an altercation between a code cracker and the Digipolice in Warslum. It's not usual police scoring points by catching petty thieves red-handed.
You'd think so, right? But this took place in 9th Avenue, otherwise known as the Castle of the Nine Wolves.
That's not the kind of place normal code cracker would visit for a bit of fun. Leon plopped on the couch.
It seems that this skilled code cracker and his Digimon partner drove back the Digipolice. They're unquestionably mind-linked.
So, this code cracker, what does he have to do with the SOC? Leon sipped from his water bottle. He liked Japan's softened water. When he lived in Japan as a kid, he grew up drinking gallons and gallons of this water at school and at the park.
Funny you should ask, the SOC channel is currently ablaze with rumours about him.
And that is it for Chapter 1 of Digimon Seekers. So, of course, make sure to visit all the official release chapters on Digimon.net just to get those views up so Bandai knows that there's still interest in it. I wouldn't want people to be reading either unofficial translations or just listening to this and that cause a lack of interest or an apparent lack of interest for the official release. So make sure you actually do click through the Digimon.net site for Digimon Seekers So just go to digimon.net and click on Digimon Seekers, and then just click around for a bit, scroll through a few pages, just to give Bandai an indication that there is interest. So make sure you do that. But of course, that's it for this chapter. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I'll just reiterate it, that I will be releasing my Chapter 1 quick review video within a few days after releasing this. I'm also going to be releasing, well, as of recording this, Chapter 2 is not out, but I will be releasing within a few days again, the Chapter 2 First Impressions video in a similar way that I did for Chapter 1, Part 1, I'll be doing for Chapter 2, Part 2, Part 1, sorry. Chapter 2, Part 1, there we are. And so stay tuned for that on the YouTube channel. So make sure if you're not watching this on YouTube, make sure you head over to YouTube for any further Digimon Seekers stuff. So, yes, that is it for this podcast / video. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that wonderful fun jazz. And, of course, if you're watching on YouTube and leave us a comment, I can chat to other people about Digimon Seekers, so it's win-win. You can, of course, obviously join the LostinTranslationmon Discord server to chat more about Digimon Seekers. I look forward to seeing you there. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so by checking out all the social media sites like YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter over on our link tree, which is linktr.ee/LostinTranslationmon. If you enjoy the podcast or videos or whatever I post about, you can show your support by signing up on Patreon and get some cool rewards and help us hit milestones. And thank you to our current supporters on Patreon, Stephen Reeves, who is Wild64 on Archive Our Own, Kadawashi, Chisai, who can follow on Twitter at Chisai236, Niobu, who says you should follow Chisai on Twitter at Chisai236, Lismet, who is a Lekmon on Tumblr, Nicholas, Emery from Gone Will Hunting, a Hunt Hunter Rewatch podcast, Magnus, Lucas, Jasonmon05, Patrick, Jason, Shelby, Digital Hazard, who is on Twitch at The Digital Hazard, Droppymon, Vmon, Tamer, Joe, Kasai, and Failvin. You can also make a one donation on PayPal, which we found linked in the description. It's paypal.me/Airdramon. You can also donate to me on my Ko-fi, which is ko-fi.com/Airdra. And yes, that is it for another podcast. Again, please like, comment, subscribe, etc., etc. if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are listening to this on a podcast app, you can leave us a 5-star review and you'll probably make me smile quite a bit because I haven't received a review for a while. So in any case, that is it for Chapter 1. Let me know your thoughts on Discord or Twitter or whatever. Please talk to me about Digimon. Please somebody talk to me about Digimon. But in any case, thanks for watching, listening, or whatever you are doing. Have a lovely day, and I will see you on the next video, or podcast rather. Bye!